Hello, hello, happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday Witchy Hangout. We do this every single Friday where we get together, we merge our energies together, we ask a juicy question of the universe. That dog is joining us. I'm so sorry if you can hear it. I literally just said to Alex, I was like, hey, are we ready? And that dog was like, rah, rah. So, do you hear it? But you know what? Hecate's symbol is like a black dog. And I kind of wondered if that was like some kind of gesture or something. So if that means something to you, maybe that's for you. Anyways, so today we have a lovely juicy reading on how do they feel when they see you. But interesting fun fact, I don't know what I meant to say. I was kind of thinking like, well, what are they thinking when they see you? So this might be a little blend of like, what are they thinking when they see you? What are they feeling when they see you? We'll just see whatever comes through in the reading. So we have no anchor card today, right? Yeah. We have no anchor card today. So I don't know if that means anything to you. Maybe the dog is our anchor. Or, maybe not. But so we'll just throw up the piles here to choose from. Pile number 1 is the castle. Pile number 2 is the destroyer. And pile number 3 is the poet. So I will just throw that up for you. And if you haven't already chosen your pile, now is a good time to do it. Go through whatever process you like to go through, you usually go through, you feel called to go through today. And I just like to have a moment of silence to kind of settle my energy and just to kind of allow all of our energies to settle. And that way you have some time to do whatever you're doing as well. I like to put my hands over my heart. You don't have to. You could do the Macarena if you want. So we'll do that. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and be drawn in to whatever pile or multiple piles you are drawn into. Tiger Butterfly, thank you so much for the super chat. Also, while you're coming back to the land of the living, next week is Halloween, like actually literally on Friday. And I was trying to think of like a spooky themed question that we could do. And I don't know, like I was kind of thinking we could do like a shadow one, like messages from your shadow or like peering into your shadow or something. But if you have any suggestions for that, maybe messages from your guides so if you have any suggestions for that, then I would love to know them. Okay. Oh, Christina said dog star, message from Sirius. Okay. That's interesting. What is your inner monster? That's a good one. I know, right? Halloween already. Oh, what haunts you? Okay, these are good. What haunts you? What's your inner monster? Oh, I'm getting like the goosebumps. Okay, so we'll make a note of those. And when you're ready, I'm ready. Let's do pile number 1, which is the castle. Oh, look at the cat. Oh, little judgmental cat. Okay. Oh, it's weird not having an anchor card. Okay. I was like looking for it. I was like, oh, maybe like not having an anchor or something is like, oh, anchor. Okay. Actually, okay, I just put my hand on this. There could be something here with like touch with this group, because I'm kind of getting that this person maybe can't see you because it's like, what do they feel when they see you? Maybe there's been like a split here is what I want to say. So that could have actually been like a breakup, or there's been some kind of a split, or there's like a split in the group, and it has to do with like fantasy. And this split may be like kind of where you're at on the timeline, because I feel like there's I feel like there's one energy and then there's another energy. And I feel like that could have been like, okay, so back in the day, oh my gosh, I just felt so many emotions, like just like happiness exploding from my heart and then like tears in my eyes. But it was just, like a fireworks show when you kind of ramp up to the grand finale and then like all of a sudden the fireworks start like kind of going. It just felt like that, like, so I think somebody here feels that, or they remember that, or they think on that, like cacophony of like feelings. Like one, it feels like in very quick succession. Like, so there's something here like that. The word succession is really standing out to me. So again, that's another reference to like a breakage or some kind of split here. And it could be that this person's kind of split in their feelings and they're kind of split in their mind because I feel like there's something here to do with fantasy where like maybe for some of these people intentionally try not to look at you. They try not to look maybe at your pictures, or like if you're around, they might intentionally not try to look at you because there was like a fantasy here, or like for some of you, this is you, where it's like there's a tendency to kind of idealize this person or idealize the relationship, or somebody here feels like that's what was done in the past. Like, I'm sorry if you guys can hear that in the background. Our neighbor is rebuilding his deck over there, and I thought I shut the doors and that maybe that would make a difference. Sorry about the noises. That could be something here as well too. I feel like nothing is accidental. Okay. Okay. So, but I am getting that for some of you. Like, I don't think that maybe you're looking at each other here, and I think there's actually multiple kind of scenarios. But like I said, for one person, I think there could have been an earlier point in time, and I don't know where you're at on the timeline, where one person was like really living from their heart space, and I think was actually like very grounded, and another person could have been living in fantasy. But I think that fantasy is somehow bound up and intertwined with envy. So that could have been like direct in this relationship. And so this person could have been doing weird stuff like games, strategy, power games, pain. I just saw somebody poking like a needle into a heart, and I just heard trauma bond. So it could have been that like directly in the relationship, but it also could have been that y'all were in like a relationship or something was like taking off here, and it was of a genuine heart space energy and it was grounded. But somebody was looking outside of that with envy towards another situation. And I'm kind of getting that it was maybe an already built situation where there was like family or, I don't know, something involved. And they were jealous of that because somebody had like money. And so there was a fantasy in their head about, well, if I just jumped over there to that, I would have all of my needs met or something. And so that was like a split. And I think that's caught up or catching up with whoever did that, because for somebody here, they may have jumped out of like this situation that was grounded and actually like heart chakra, heart centered into that situation, throat chakra. So like there's a issue speaking, or there's a fantasizing about speaking. And if that's the case, then I feel like that person is in a situation that they built, like a bed that they made. They're in there, and that fantasy fell through. I feel like really quickly, or it was just a fantasy. So it just like fell through, and it was all kind of built on envy and not love. And so there's not really a lot of love and warmth like there was in your situation. And so I feel like that person is fantasizing. I just heard on the daily. They're just fantasizing on the daily about the love and about different traits that you have that's like very loving, and that they felt, I just heard they'd give anything to go back. So like this person, like they would give up. Oh yeah, I just heard I would do anything for you. Oh, yeah, I don't know. It was like an old Backstreet Boys song or something. It's like, I would give up anything for you or something, like, all of everything that they thought they were gaining and that they just kind of couldn't wait to gain. It's like they realized that they were like there was a fantasy over whoever that person was, because it was just they wanted that. And so I feel like that person is maybe stuck in that situation, bindings, like through contracts. They're going to lose everything that they like sacrificed everything good to have. So they just fantasize about what it would be like to be with you, or if they could go back to that situation, or how much love you had for them, because they really like took that for granted is what I'm getting. But on the flip side, and I think for a lot of you, this is you, there's somebody here that was like, oh, I was living from my heart space, and then it got wrecked and so that must have been a fantasy. So I think somebody here has like moved on from the situation, and they kind of try not to think about this person. They might dream of them from time to time. Like this person just kind of floats into their dreams, or, but they kind of try to tell themselves, oh, that was just a fantasy. Like I'm going to be real with myself. And they might not want to look at it too, because it's like somebody could have jumped out of their situation to a different situation that looks like it's everything, And so it might have brought up some envy, of like how it's not fair. It hurts so bad that you're going to jump from my situation to a different situation. And I feel like it would look like it was love, or it would look like these people just like had everything, And so I don't want to look at it because I don't want to feel envious. And that's going to make me feel envious. It's going to make me feel bitter. And it's going to make me feel disillusioned is what I'm hearing too, which is kind of a shame and unfortunate because I feel like there was genuine love here. But it's like, I feel like two people here were just never on the same page. So it's like earlier in the situation, one was feeling it, one was living from like the heart space, and the other was living in some kind of fantasy, whether that was like with them or towards another situation. They were in some kind of state of like feeding some kind of delusion. And usually where there's delusion, there's either defensiveness about like oneself, or there's, I think a lot of times when we fantasize, we solve our own problems in our fantasy. We like address our own needs in our fantasy. So whatever situation they were trying to get in on or like very envious of, it I think was their mind's way of trying to like solve their problem. But they didn't realize the love that they lost, like the love that they were giving up. And they just assumed. This is another case too of like the 80-20 rule, where they say a lot of times like when somebody cheats, they have like 80% of their needs met, especially if they're in like a long-term situation. That's a long-term situation for a reason. Although a lot of people are starting to talk about how toxic situations really last for a long time because of the trauma bonding, but also because you don't want to look like a fool, like, from getting out of it or, something like that. So, I just feel like they had 80% of their needs met, and they just assumed that every person that they were attracted to could give them that 80%. They didn't realize that there were certain traits that you had, or there's an alchemy between the two of you they took it for granted. I feel like somebody here just kind of took it for granted. And so they were looking out at the 20% that they couldn't get met by their relationship. It's not even it's not even that they couldn't have. It's just that they couldn't find some kind of healthy, creative way to meet that need. And so they jumped to another situation for the 20%, thinking that it was going to be 100% because they were already in a position where they had the 80%. And again, there's that like kind of split in this person's mind. So there's split in the feelings because I feel like there's like love here, but then there's also this like envy here maybe, and then there's also fantasy, and there's but I think one person is feeling like, I think it's the person that got like cheated on or left or whatever. That person is like, okay, well, I was living from my heart space. I guess I was wrong about that. I thought you had certain traits, and I thought you felt a certain way about me, and I also thought that you had certain morals or virtues or something where you wouldn't be a cheater, or you wouldn't just like up and leave or something. I guess I was wrong about that. I guess I was disillusioned. So I'm not going to look over there because for some reason, I can't see you clearly. I see this idealized version of you that kind of gets rid of all of your warts and all of your flaws. And I just relate to this kind of fantasy version of you for whatever reason, And I think maybe this person, whoever's doing that, is like looking inwards. And I'm kind of getting that this person, whoever got like cheated on in this situation, is kind of like beautiful and like a really great person to be in love. They love love, and they're a great person to be in a relationship with. And I think that they have a certain amount of respect and admiration for love. And I think that love genuinely is this person's spiritual path. And it's like enlighten them to their heart space, but through some kind of like confused energy. But I feel like this is strange because this is a kind of situation where they both of these people could have been on this like heart with all the green around. Green is the color of the heart chakra. It's like, it could have been this like heart chakra energy, but somebody green is also the color of envy. And I feel like somebody here was like envious or jealous because they saw something growing for somebody else. And I think they didn't realize that whatever was growing for somebody else was this. There's a lot of questions when you look over and you see something growing for somebody else. There's a lot you don't know. Like that could just be a blip in time, really. You don't know what they had to do for that. You don't know how long it's going to grow. You don't know why it's growing. It could be a combination of their energies and maybe not the best of combination either. You don't know what else is growing under there. And so again, I think like something here was just envious, and somebody here just like, wanted that. And it could have been they wanted something traditional with like the pearls that are there and also the rose. It's like, I think somebody was really kind of swept away by that. And it was actual like violence to this other person who had just had their heart wide open. And that person, I think, love is kind of a spiritual teacher to them, even if this was like a hard experience or harsh experience, like where their heart was wide open. And now I feel like there's like a kind of regret here. So, oh, look. And then we have Helios, which is like the bringer of the sun. And also this is to me related to like the higher cup, which is giving kind of a 4 of cups kind of a feel. And I think, yeah, okay, so for whoever I feel was cheated on, I think there's like an inward meditation where this person's kind of needs to elevate themselves in their own mind, where they need to understand that in some ways they're the higher cup. And I actually think like it's in love. This person's a great person to be in love with and to be in a relationship with. They show up, they're fair, they're balanced, they're even keel, they're measured, they're the higher cup really in relationships. And you can gain a lot in partnership with this person, but it might not look like, greed, the kind of like that you gain a lot, in terms of greed. But truly it's like, or being in love with this person, this higher cup kind of person, it brings the dawn. It ushers in like a new day or a new peace or a new dawn. And it shines that kind of morning dew kind of light where it's gentle, And so I think somebody here is like needing to see themselves like that, but maybe in comparison to people that they've been in relationships with that have not honored love and that are just very envious, and want what they want from other people or something. And for another person, I think that it's that classic kind of Four of Cups dilemma of, well, I'm messing around with the Three of Cups when I could take this like Ace of Cups that Spirit is offering this kind of new, it feels like the energy of the dawn, like where the dew is still on the fields and, the sun is kind of softly coming in. It feels like that, yeah, and there's something about like that soft sunlight is a hearkening of the greater sunlight to come, like midday has not occurred, so it's like jumping on that. But I don't know, it's like some kind of softness here. So what is this person think when they see you? The Beauty card just came out. So they do think there's like a lot of attraction here. Okay, the Release card just came out, and Authenticity. So, beauty in the release is what I'm getting. Like, I think, again, this person who was like cheated on or something, there was like beauty in the release, even though it was like really, really harsh. You know how they say that you don't really know somebody until you break up with them? I feel like somebody here feels like they saw something, and that's not exactly like the best something. Maybe if this is a spiritual person, which I'm getting that at least one of these people really is, then they might have, again, had to confront their own jealousy or their own envy. And they're like, okay, I saw this part of myself that I don't really exactly like. That mine, like my precious, it's not like people are free to go make their own decisions and stuff. So if you're not choosing to be mine, like I release you, I let you go, kind of a thing. But I think they also saw this like covetous nature in this other person towards like some kind of other situation here. Like, oh, you wanted to be seen in a certain way and you want to like have the mostest or something here. Yeah, and it caused somebody here to like want to focus on equality. I'm not going to show you the card beneath because I don't know if I can on YouTube, but yeah. And somebody here retrained their focus because we're talking about how do they feel when they look at you. And remember I said, I don't think that people are looking at each other here. I think that whoever left this situation is fantasizing and daydreaming about the person that they left behind because they feel very stuck in their situation and they recognize their folly. And I think they're having to realize that they didn't treat this person as an equal. They needed to like kind of find their equal, and they went after somebody that they maybe thought was better than them because they kind of wanted that. They wanted to like mooch off of this, but there's a reason that Libra rules over relationships. And so they got themselves in a situation they weren't really expecting. This kind of, oh, I think that I'm going to have the control and that I'm going to just only benefit from you who has more than me in a certain way. If you're only looking at what you're going to gain from a situation, you have a whole ass blind spot about the power dynamics that are actually there. And so I think they jumped in, they got themselves in some kind of tangle, some kind of situation. They could have even demonized this other person or, I don't know. So I think whoever jumped out, they're focusing. There's something about the situation retrained the focus. How do they feel when they're looking at you? They're not looking at you because if there's some kind of split here, I don't think that these two people are around each other. They're not seeing each other. So one person is now finally looking at the other person and they're looking at them fully and with focus and through that heart chakra lens. And they have to kind of start realizing and addressing their own envy. They were pulled very strongly into a situation because of the strength of their own envy. And that's their shadow work. And so they're having to kind of parse through that. Whereas this other person that I think was left, it retrained their focus off of love because this is a person that's very giving in a love relationship. And I think they're actually, like I said, very good person to be in a relationship with. And instead they were focused on equality. They needed to focus on some kind of like equality, and that's clearing their karma. I think for both of these people, they're somehow clearing their karmas in the form of like these obstacles, and the obstacles that went up between these two and went down, but over here in a different situation, with Ganesh here, because Ganesh is they call him the remover of obstacles, but Ganesh will also put obstacles in your path, like especially helpful obstacles to keep you safe and to kind of corral your path and everything like that. So there was some shuffling around of the obstacles in this situation as a form of protection. Yeah, maybe from some kind of shape-shifting, like temptation energy. They're focused on healing. And I think this person that I'm picking up on that's like focused on healing from the situations, you guys, I feel like you would have that kind of approach. But I also think maybe whoever jumped into the situation, or maybe like whoever they jumped in with, has this like shapeshifter energy. Good girl, Luna. There could be some people pleasing going on, because that's what she does whenever she wants a add a girl. Look, it's the green here as well. So it's like, oh, look, and the red, which is opposite ends of like the color wheel, like the color spectrum here. So, but it's also like the root chakra. I feel like, yeah, maybe somebody here was really hurt in the root chakra. That's like hurt by schmegsual energy or something like that. There's like a healing that's going on in regards of commitment and just kind of having to go with the flow. But I feel like this is getting to like a deeper healing, addressing certain things that are stuck in the auric, that are stuck in the shadow. It's unearthed it, it's released it, and it's retrained the focus, I think through pain, to be honest, because pain can be a great focuser of attention. So I think through pain here, for one, the one that got like cheated on, through pain, it's readdressed a certain energy. It's refocused an energy, but it's also kicked up a lot of stuff of like, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel worthy, because this person here chose somebody over me that they were so obsessed with, because they thought that person offered more, because they were so obsessed with them sexually, or they were so obsessed with their what they had, like their money or their status in life, that they just threw me and possibly our family, like they just threw everything over. That's how desperately they wanted that person. And I was just like kind of an afterthought. That's incredibly, incredibly painful. And so I feel like that's what's going on over here, where for somebody else, I think they jumped into some kind of temptation. They thought that there was some kind of commitment, but actually somebody here is not at all the way that they portrayed themselves, and they thought that they were just going with the flow. But I think they got tricked. They got like in some way tricked into a new beginning, or they threw somebody else out with this Rhiannon energy. They could have framed somebody else, even in their mind, as like not being worthy of them or something, because they wanted some kind of power. And they, instead of building strength, they wanted to go like, I don't know, like harvest some kind of strength. And so all of these things are kicked up when these people think about the other one, because this is, I feel like, a couple that's split. Nikki, thank you so much for the super chat. Loves to the Cubs. Yeah. So I feel like there's been a split here, and there's a split in the way that these people are kind of seeing each other and the way that they're seeing themselves. And this feels really helpful in the grand scheme of things, even though I definitely think that for one person, it was painful, like in the immediate moment, in the immediate aftermath. I think for the person who jumped out, it was like they were going with the flow. And I think they were like, oh, great, I got everything that I ever wanted. And they didn't realize that they were trapped. Like they were in some kind of isolating, entrapping situation that was all built on greed and envy, is what I'm getting. So they're getting up close and personal with their greed and envy, and what those, it's not a loving energy. It's not a warm energy, because I think they thought, well, if I have the house, then I can afford more blankets and more, fluffy things to make me feel more comfortable. But there's not the energy of comfort over here in this, so they're wanting a renewal. Somebody here's wanting a renewal. And I think they feel less attractive, especially in the long run and after these people do some healing, because whoever this was that got like left and cheated on, I think, they are healing up whatever it was inside of them. They thought this other person was their equal. They thought that it was like an equal give and take. They thought this person was like balanced and giving. But, and I think they felt like this because Vulcan, he marries Aphrodite, and he feels very unattractive, but he's a hard worker. And so I think that's what somebody here was like, well, I'm a hard worker and I'm going to build myself back up. And I think they met somebody here that was the Isis to their Osiris. This kind of, I'll pick you up and put your pieces back together, and you do the same for me. It's in a weird way, that's more of a balanced, they were invested in, and that was more of a balance rather than this kind of matchy equal give and take. It was like somebody kind of poured into them, and that was a confirmation. And I think there's been like a renewal. So they worked themselves back up to some kind of state of renewal and authenticity. And now I think whoever this is, I think is very beautiful. I really do. I think that they have that kind of fairy tale prince or princess quality about them. Like other people would see them that way. But this person has a strong internal gaze. They have a strong internal focus. And I think they feel a bit like this energy, kind of worn down, rugged. They think of themselves as like a pack mule, or like somebody that just kind of gets in there and gets it done. And that's what they think. Somebody here is always redirecting something like towards themselves. That person made me feel unattractive. That person made me feel unworthy. That person cheated on me. Or that person wanted to play a little game. Do you want to play a game? And I don't. So, I'm going to focus on myself and I'm going to keep my perimeter. And it could even be with some kind of traditionality, or I'm hearing pearls of wisdom. Like there's a lot of pearls of wisdom that this person is just like strung together and to create some kind of firm foundation. And I feel like it was via fantasy, through unpacking their fantasy that they had about this person. What about this person, blah, blah, blah. And it could be that this person, especially because maybe they shape-shifted to jump over here into a different relationship, they could just be good at shape-shifting and showing a person whatever it is that they need. So when they're with a person like the first person that they were with, that they ended up cheating on, this is a very heart-centered person. So they'll show their heart-centered self. And I think that it took a lot for this person to realize that. Oh, when you're here, you'll show this like heart center. And so it's hard for this person, I think, at first to kind of get over that, because they were like, no, I know that person's loving. I know that person's warm. And they have that in them, but they also will just throw that over for, something else. There's more there, and they have to kind of accept. And I think it's hard. Oh, I didn't really know that person. Like that was just what they chose to show me, which is a choice. That's, tactical. It feels like, I'm having to learn that was more of that heart energy that I love and that I thought was the same as me. It was tactical and it wasn't real, because if it was real, we would have had a conversation about it. There wouldn't have been, something like that. I wouldn't have been treated as cruelly or callously. There was like a lack of empathy here. I feel like in the way that this person was treated and kind of thrown over, and there was maybe a duplicit nature or something here. So, the sun energy. There's been clarity. I actually feel like this is a spirit guide. I'm getting that very strongly. I feel like there's been a guide here. Some kind of spirit guide has shown a light. Maybe is the cause of this. I kind of pick up on this sometimes. This spirit guide could have been the cause of this split in some kind of way, like to shine a light, or a spirit guide knows what it's doing. Like this is a high being, like whoever this is. It's like some kind of high being that kind of knows that each of these people needed this situation. Again, I'm hearing like the focus and the retraining of the focus. And this is also like, okay, because for instance, you guys can probably pick up on this. I don't like cheating. I don't like pain. I don't like betrayal, and it triggers me whenever like I see that. But this like high being, I can almost feel the neutrality in that space, which I am nowhere near close to accomplishing. But there's this neutrality and this whole idea of like, well, pain can be a refocuser. That is a spirit guide who is able to look at this from like a higher level of neutrality and say, I needed to use pain as a tool. It was the thing that could redirect this person's attention quick and actually put a fast transformation on this so they stop hurting themselves and other people. They needed that pain in the heart space to kind of refocus and to know that they can't always trust a heart energy in somebody, because it might be there. I feel like there's something, like they say the best lie has a little bit of truth in it. I feel like this heart energy was real, like with this person, but what was behind it? What else is there? That's the kind of, so I think somebody here could really give themselves over to love, where they're kind of blinded by love and they don't look at what else is there. They just kind of, which can be a very beautiful trait, don't get me wrong, where this person will just only look at what they love about a person. And then they just kind of disregard everything else. When you think about like, who could fall in love with like the monsters of history, who could be in love with somebody who caused a bunch of havoc, and it's like somebody maybe like this, where they were like, well, I can just see that they're not all bad. And this person I think might really actually mean that, and the spirit guide's like, we got to start looking around. We got to start poking around in here. And I think this person even, like with the heart-centered energy, I think they felt a heart-centered energy and then they kind of felt like, well, we're going to rise together. And all that seemed really healthy to this person. And then I think they were shocked. Because this person had their eye on somebody else who had money, I think, and stability. And this person And that's not bad. You know, we all have Maslow's pyramid of needs. We all need like security, but this person's envy kind of just took over. And I feel like whoever this was that they saw, yeah, there was like somebody here was just really seeing that. It could be that you're the person that they've seen, that they're very jealous of or something here. And I think if this person is a heart-centered person, again, they're trying not to see that. They're not open to an affair. Like, this is another scenario that this could be, where maybe somebody's in a heart-centered relationship and they're not looking. Like, even if they find you to be attractive, somebody here is like kind of very wise and focused on a spiritual path, and they just keep redirecting themselves to themselves, even though something here is like, somebody's got the looks, somebody's got the money. Somebody here's like, I'm not paying attention to that because I'm on my path and I've chosen my path, and my path is of fairness and of reciprocity and of equality. And so that is who I am in the world. And if we rise, it's going to be together, but I'm not jumping ship. Like this is high conscientiousness on the big five, like personality. This is somebody who is like, has a certain amount of stick-to-itiveness, and that can get them in tough situations. If they jump in with the wrong person. So you can see there's different situations here, and just I hope you're taking whatever kind of resonates with that. What's funny is I feel like maybe this envious person, whoever did, if somebody here did actually jump in like with somebody else or act on that, I think eventually over time their envy is going to turn back towards this person that they left behind and the situation that they build for themselves, like kind of the right way. And by the right way, to me, that means like an ethical way, a way that is holistic, like well-rounded and moral, because it was never out of their grasp. I think this person has to like realize that it was never out of their grasp when they were with this other person. They're maybe just lazy, or they didn't want to put the work in. That's a possibility. Somebody here could just want it easy, but it's about like not having faith in themselves. And because I think that they might see somebody here like elevating actually like with a partner, and like the two of them elevate together, and they have this. So these two here have everything, because these two don't have everything. Whoever they jumped in with, because it's all based on envy and greed, and there's not an actual match here, and there's no reciprocity, and there's no warmth, and there's no like, let's bring out whoever you are, and oh yeah, let's bring out whoever you are too. Like, let's bring it out to the fore. There's none of that going on over here. You have to build that, you know? And so these two over here, whoever I feel like you're going to end up with, that's what that relationship is going to be like. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but it's very much like they have the trust, they have the love, they have the communication, they have the compassion, and they're both making strides together because there's an investment for both of these people in one another's space. Alex, my husband, like he said to me the other day, that it's important to be worthy of the investment that somebody puts into you, like when they invest their time and their energy into you. And that's like a big part of partnership. And that just really like hit me. Like that really, yeah, he was saying it's not something, I can't remember what it was. If you remember, you can chime in, boo. But it was like, it's not so much this as like being worthy of the investment. Or it was something like, you don't have to feel bad when somebody invests time or energy in you. You don't have to feel like you're taking something from them, because I don't like to be a burden on anybody. It's like, just show that was a good investment, you know, and that you appreciate it, and that you've done something with it, and that you're going to continue doing something with it. And that also like you reciprocate that energy, like, you know, just partnership stuff. And yeah. But and one last thing here, I've noticed that as human beings, okay, so I've said this before, and I think that this holds true to many different arenas in life. And I feel like this envious person kind of doesn't understand that, because they like the dopamine rush of like getting something fast. Because when you actually work towards something, and I like to use an example of like, say that you were always working towards being in the MLB, the Major League Baseball League, right? So you, as a kid, you were going to, you know, 2-a-day practices, you'd go to all of the special camps and everything. If you make it to the MLB, it's not like, oh my gosh, I won the fucking lottery. And it's like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening to me. You can kind of believe on some level that it's happening to you because you put in the work, right? It's not as if you were just plucked from obscurity and like you have this amazing life where you're going to play professional ball and you're going to make a lot of money doing the thing that you love to do. You get to play a game for a living. Yay. Like it doesn't feel like that. You're grateful, I'm sure. And you're like, oh my gosh, but you walked every step of it. You know, but like for us who don't play Major League Baseball, you know, and who haven't done all of that, it's like, wow, that is so crazy. Can you imagine that? And it's like, no, I can't. And so when we think about that, and I feel like that's what this envious person to this other person's life that they were peeking in on, that's what they wanted. They were like, I can't even imagine that because they hadn't worked towards that or they hadn't been born near that or something. And so that's what it felt like when they jumped in, like kind of with that other person. That was the high of like everything changed overnight, you know? And a lot of things don't feel that way, but it's kind of that gradual build that it doesn't give you that dopamine hit maybe the same way that like jumping in would, if that makes sense. It's the same in a relationship where, okay, we're partners, we're doing life together, and you can build up to having the things that this person was envious of. Stability. I feel like there's something to do with like security, but their security was tied up with some kind of luxury or the way that people view them or whatever somebody else had over here. Because they thought, well, if I just had that, then I would feel okay, you know, kind of a thing. And again, it's very human and you can have compassion for that, but it's still not the right thing to do. And I feel like that's where you have karmas that are either being built and reinforced or burned through. And I think there was an opportunity to burn through over here. So, and somebody's done it, I feel like, or is doing it. They're in the process of doing it because they're burning through the fantasy of, oh, I thought we had similar values. Oh, I thought that, you know, and maybe they do, but I feel like there's maybe a weakness. I don't know. Cause this could be a lot of different things. It could be a straight up karmic where it's like, we just don't have the same values. I don't want the same things that you want. But it also could be like, well, I did want those things. But then as soon as I was provided this temptation, I went in for the temptation. And so I have some work to do on myself. I guess I don't fully understand myself. This could be somebody that doesn't really do shadow work. This is the potency of shadow work. I know what my shadow looks like, my undesirable traits that I try to disavow. And so I'm not swept up in them whenever they present. I can just say, oh, this is envy or this is greed. I'm feeling nervous about my situation, which is why I'm attracted to that person so strongly, you know, because you're going to be attracted to other people. But anyways, yeah, that's what I have for you guys for pile number 1. That was like an involved answer. What do they feel like when they look at you? These two people are not looking at each other except for possibly like in a fantasy or in a dream state. For one of these people, I think another one of these people felt that they lived a fantasy with this person and was burned by it and is turned inwards trying to undo that, trying to say, next time I gaze upon this person, you know, it will be the real version of them that I see. It's not going to be some drummed up fantasy where I'm just kind of swept away by this person and I think, oh, there they are, you know, the person who has kind of everything for me. It's going to be, I can see you, warts and all. You know, and it's not even that, well, and I could still love you, but it's like, I just see that something here isn't on solid ground. So I can't jump in with you in a romantic relationship because I have self-love. Because somebody here gives themselves away too much in love. And they only focus on the things that they love about a person so they can get themselves and other people, especially if they're children, they have little children around them to take care of or that they could potentially bring into the world with this person. I'm not going to put us in a precarious position. And I think that's this person's karmas. This person has karmas to clear up with their kids, even if their kids aren't born yet, to make sure that they're not putting them in some kind of precarious situation. And that ties into this person needs to see reality. They need to see reality as it is in front of them because sometimes reality can be painful. And so sometimes fantasy is a medicine that our brains try to give us to make us feel a little bit better. But there's other ways to kind of deal with it. So anyways, I'm done talking about pile number 1. Just me and my shadow. Oh, thank you, Serenity. Okay, so I'm just going to put that back up there. So I stopped talking about pile number 1 because I'll just go on and on. Okay, so that was pile number 1. If you're just joining us, this is a good time. We are headed into pile number 2, which is the destroyer. And we just finished pile number 1, which is the castle. You're welcome, Buttercup. Pants off Friday.
Pants off, dance off.
Pants party, dance party. Oh, thanks, Julie. The giver archetype, sure. If we can't have the firm boundaries, we'll be hurting ourselves. So true. And that boundaries are a part of love. Because we're all fed that story about like, if you love somebody, it means you have no boundaries with them and you merge with them. But actually that's codependency and it's really not healthy. Fast and Furious Friday at work. Oh, because family. Oh my gosh, I'm crying. Fast and Furious is like male rom-com. I have no new material. I will be known as the lady who's obsessed with no pants. Oh my. Okay. So, we're just going to get ready to move on here to pile number 2. Oh. Well, compassion. Compassion, compassion, compassion. Okay. There's no anchor card once again. Okay. So the destroyer. Dun dun dun. I'm kidding. Although the destroyer is kind of like a scary energy, but you know. Okay. All right, spirit. For pile number 2, what does this person see whenever they look at you? I reached for this love messages, no communication, and it's like upside down, and I don't even almost feel like I should pull anything from it. It's just I feel like that's the message in and of itself, but I want to see this one. I don't understand what this connection really is. No matter what happens, my heart will always belong to you. I know that we are spiritually connected. Okay, I am sensing like 2 different energies with this one too, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go down both pathways here, but let me just, okay, so for one group here, I feel like it's what it looks like on the tin. I mean, I feel like whenever this person sees you, like, I think that they see you next to somebody or something else, because there's 2 there, and it's like they're closer to one of you than another one. So they may have like a direct relationship, a primary relationship with one of you, but there's somebody here that's like kind of connected, and it could be parent-child because one of these looks bigger than the other one, but obviously one's closer. But this also could be a partnership or a relationship here, and somebody here is like seeking to destroy it. So when they see you, they're feeling destructive. They're feeling like they want to, there's like a targeting kind of going on here, and they get like angry for some reason about like a relationship here. And this is like 2 bright lights. So this is like 2 happy, bright people that are in some way connected to each other. And it doesn't have to be through a romantic connection. This could be like somebody trying to destroy a relationship that you have with your child, or somebody trying to destroy a relationship that you have with a best friend, or somebody here that's like very close to you. And actually, when I first looked at this, I thought this was an owl, like the eyes that are back there. But actually, it looks more like a wolf to me, or like I don't know what it is really, but it looks more like a wolf. So the owl thing, usually it's a totem of wisdom. So this person could at first appear to be wise, or they could be trying to tear you apart via some kind of wise counsel or wise guidance. But if you follow it, it's not actually wise guidance. It is something that is like self-destructive, or it's something that's meant to hurt this other person. Or it's like doesn't have them in mind, you know? Or this could be a partner that like you get into a relationship with and they actually compete against your child. You know, they're in some kind of like competition. And so they may have some kind of emotions that they feel like they need you to tend to in regards to them. And so they might try to give you some kind of, I don't know, pseudoscience kind of like explanation for why you should neglect or abandon your child, but it's dressed up in a different way. So it could be a kind of person like that. But I think there's a different group here where there's potentially somebody here who can see that, who has like, see how we're like zoomed out now. So there's somebody here who potentially can see that that's what somebody is doing and that they're cunning. Whoever is doing that is actually very cunning. So that's why I'm saying there's 2 different energies here. And actually, like with the 2 bright lights, that could be you and this person that you're asking about. So like this person that you're asking about, maybe they're closer or their light is brighter and it's like shining on it, because somebody here can see like what this person is really and what it is that they're doing really. And I don't know how they're operating in the space, because I feel like they're potentially operating with like tact, because with this kind of person you need to operate with some kind of tact and grace. But they're honing in on it. And I think they're also honing in potentially on a relationship here. Like whoever can see this predatory person, whoever's seeing that is also honing in on the relationship, and they're trying to protect the relationship here by calling this energy out, but calling it out maybe indirectly or in a way that, or just debunking whatever pseudoscience-y thing they're saying, or whatever, the frame, like they're trying to like control the frame or something. So somebody here can see that and is like zooming in on it. So I don't know which one you're asking about, but there does seem to be some kind of a dance here. And it is because I just looked down at this Taurus card and look the eyes here. Like there's the eyes there were like with that, where it's like looking at this lady, and then it's the eyes here. It feels very kind of predatory. So it could be that, Yeah. Look, and it says, please understand that I need space right now. So it's like, I think somebody's trying to create space between somebody here, between these two people, but it's like in their own remit. Taurus, to me, it's like very like in my own space, like in my own remit. And so these two energies belong in their own space, in their own remit, either because they're a couple and they share a space together, they share their own apartment or whatever, or because this is like a mother and a child. And so the child's space is wherever its mom is, you know? If it's its mom's house, like it's their house, and they should not feel like a second class citizen in their own house, you know, kind of a thing. So yeah, there's something here like kind of going on with that. And I don't know, somebody here, I don't like this. I don't understand. The love messages, no communication. Like I'm kind of getting that energy because I feel like this person could be using love messages to kind of do that. Or like love, like, oh, we're in love. And so aren't you connected and committed to me? But if this somebody really loves you, they're going to love your child too. I don't know why I keep saying the child thing. Like they're wanting to love your child too. They're wanting to make space for like your child too. They don't want your child to feel like uncomfortable or anything. No matter what happens, my heart will always belong to you. I never expected to fall in love. Yeah, I never experienced this intense connection before. I feel like that's like between these two people. There's like some kind of genuine like love kind of connection here. But I think somebody here might be trying to drum up some kind of fake feelings, or they're trying to confuse or pollute the space. And then in order to use love as a weapon, but like love as a wedge here. Yeah, look, the sun energy is like trying to shine a light on this here. Because also Jupiter just came out. Oh, look, Jupiter exalts in Cancer. There's a high vibrational Jupiterian energy, which is like maybe a teacher or somebody with broad knowledge that spirit is bringing into this situation that can give you better guidance and information and knowledge to help you understand this. Somehow this is moving around you, or it doesn't have to be, it's a teacher, but it could come in the form of like a book. But as we know, somebody wrote a book, you know, so it's like they're teaching you through whatever they wrote or something. I just heard, I'm not going to say that. Okay. Well, actually, okay. So what's the gossip? I'm reaching for this. It's funny because I'm reaching for whole decks here. Almost like, and not, I'm reaching for like, this is the love messages deck. This is the, what's the gossip deck? So it's like they could be like love messages and gossip, like working through that. I don't know. Big break. I think somebody here is thinking that breaking up somebody is their big break. There's some kind of crossroads. Why is this coming out here? What does this person see or feel whenever they look at you? Yo, unbreakable. For some of you, they think you're unbreakable, or that there's some kind of bond here that's unbreakable. That's a very good thing. That's a very good thing. It could be because there's this other influence. There's spirit guide energy here that's with you and like kind of guiding you and teaching you. Look, energy vampire. I think some of you feel that this person's draining. Like there's like an energy vampire. Draining connections, toxic influence, protect your energy, time to cut cords. Unbothered. They might think that you're unbothered. I'm kind of getting that it's failing then. So this person's plan is like failing. Peace despite the chaos, calm attitude, detachment from negativity, not my drama. So I feel like maybe this person's trying to suck you into like their drama. They'll be like, I need you to like rush over and la la la. They're trying to like, I don't know. It's not working on you. Look, divine timing, patience required. I think maybe that's what they're thinking, that patience is required. This is like a predator lying in wait kind of a thing. Trusting the process, perfect timing when it's meant to be. But, okay, look, deja vu. It says repeating patterns, familiar lessons, unresolved issues. We've been here before. I think for some of you, you're like, we don't really need to play this out again. Like, this is deja vu. Or for some of you, there's like a past life thing, like a recognition of like, I don't know, this something just doesn't feel right. It feels like I already know what's down this road. I don't know why I know that, but yeah. And so you're acting unbothered. This person, so whatever they feel, what do they feel when they look at you? Oh my gosh, past life. Unexplained familiarity, soul memories. I've known you before. What does that mean? Broken promises, disappointed expectations, failed commitments, lost trust, words meant nothing. I'm wondering is this like a Hoover person, like a Hoover attempt, and you're not responding to it? They think that you are unbothered. I actually think that's a really good thing. But what do they feel? There's not a lot of feelings coming out whenever I'm asking that question. It's all about timing, because that was like the busyness. Hold on, this one's to come out too. Look, money moves, smart decisions, strategic investments, building wealth, making money work. This person thinks that they're trying to do something strategic, and they might view you as their big break, or like they need a break. Look, this is booked busy, which is another timing reference. And before it was divine timing. So this person thinks about divine timing. They're like kind of lying in wait, right? That's that predatory energy, but this says no time to waste. So this person is like going to pounce as energy vampire. And it could be that this person's already done something once to you and they're like just looking to do it again. Or you can flip this energy, because again, there's somebody here who just sees all of this. So if, for instance, you were this predatory person watching this, then that's what this person sees. They're seeing that you are that you're targeting them in some way. They're seeing it. Look, Hecate. Remember I was talking about Hecate because her symbol is like the dog, the black dog? Sekhmet reduction. Look, okay, because Hecate is brave. She's the liberator. She's got the crown of like liberation on. And she is brave. She goes in after Persephone, who was taken to the underworld by Hades, which is like a whole metaphor for plutonic stuff. Trauma, bonds, and everything. So there's like a Hecate energy that's coming in with the key of liberation that's lighting up like certain things. That energy has been sent in here. Maybe for some, like that's what this person sees, is that you're lighting up the darkness. Oh yeah, you and maybe even somebody else. There's potentially two energies here that could be lighting up the darkness. And somebody here might want to destroy that. So it could be that you are a best friend to somebody and you're kind of telling them that they're in an abusive relationship or something, and this person doesn't like that. But yeah, this like Sekhmet energy. It feels like a trigger happy kind of energy. Yeah. What I'm getting off of this is like the calm doesn't last too long. It's gonna jump up again. I don't know. So, okay, what is this person? Who is this person? I just want to ask, who is this person? Oh, look, 6 of Cups, past. Somebody from your past. And they're trying to act like they've changed, I think. Because this 6 of Cups to me is Sun in Scorpio. So the sun kind of going down into Scorpio. Sun is like personal identity, philosophies. They could be wanting to say that they've changed here in order to position themselves nearer to you or something. Or they might be trying to change your philosophies here to make you more malleable and like unquestioning here. But there's like a secret family. This person could be family. There's a lot of family energy that's coming through here. They could be targeting a King of Pentacles. So for some of you, this could be somebody, maybe they're trying to get it on your relationship, I don't know. But they're targeting like your man's. And they think that you can see them, but they think he can't see them. And they think that he's really just focused on his like money or like whatever. And so they think that they still have cover, maybe. Look, Knight of Wands. Who is this person? Yeah, I don't like this. Third party. Somebody wants in on something here. This is somebody who wants in on a relationship. That's what they're thinking. They want in on something. Potentially, if this person wants to hoover back in order to break your heart again with this Knight of Wands energy. Because they feel small. This reminds me of the person who likes control. Remember I was saying this? I just learned that there's people whose brains are different, especially like when the amygdala is smaller and they're more on that like sociopath kind of spectrum, that how connection for us makes us feel calm and centered. But there's some people that control is that for them when they can like wrangle control. And I feel like this person just wants control. This feels kind of blind too. It's just like, I just feel like I need to destroy something beautiful. I need to destroy something strong or powerful in order to like cause conflict here, or to insert myself as some kind of competition and then like look back and watch the carnage and then try to kind of build something here. maybe with a Queen of Cups, to be able to like offer my wand here. But I gotta like, yeah, maybe keep patient or something here and wait for something maybe in their money situation to turn around so that somebody views them differently. I don't really like this energy, so that they can offer some kind of new beginning here. Death card and the Justice card, 2 major arcanas. That's Vishaka energy. That's somebody with a nice house. Or in the past, they went after that, because it's also like poisons from the past. This is like a poison from the past kind of energy. And somebody possibly sees this clearer now because they're clearing this energy out. But it also feels like death of justice, death of a relationship, death of like fairness, balance, and equilibrium. Why is this person like this? I don't know if I'll be able to answer this. I feel like there's probably entire fields dedicated to like, why are people like this? But why is this person like this? Oh, they want to advance themselves through splitting. And then it confuses the space like with responsibility. This to me seems like a spiritual virus downloaded. That's what it seems like to me. Some kind of spiritual virus of where it's like their wish fulfillment, but they hide a lot in regards to their wish fulfillment. And they like to collect trophies and they want to advance themselves quickly. And they also, like, this is kind of tied in with their confidence, but they like to split a home here. They want to split something. I just want to make sure you know who this person is. Okay, it's a King of Swords that's maybe thinking about an Empress, again, from the past. They're maybe thinking about how they were the Knight of Wands. I think they're thinking about how this Empress was like their favorite in some way. And that might seem flattering, but it's none of it's love related. They're thinking about some kind of secret. They're kind of comparing the situation that they're in with this other situation. Maybe they're thinking about that kind of in the past. They are seeing something differently here. So what does that mean? Lovers? Okay, that's weird. I mean, this would suggest to me that this person has gained in some level of like wisdom, but I wouldn't trust this person. Oh, Spirit's trying to get this person to see that. So then why with all this destruction? Because they're feeling defensive about the higher cup. And what's the higher cup? Page of Wands. Like maybe starting over. Clearing the air. This could be somebody from your past that like needed to clear the air with you, but instead was like looking at that other situation, which is starting to kind of overlap with pile number 1. So they were looking at that instead of the higher cup was to go clear the air with you. But so for some of you, this person sits on the precipice. And I was kind of getting that because, okay, whenever I see this card, there was a pile that I did way a long time ago. And I always associate this with that because it was such a potent energy that came through. And it was some kind of cheating situation. And it was somebody was like in a very, very dark energy with this destroyer. And they targeted somebody else that kind of sat on the fence. And that person was kind of, they're not really aligned with the good. But this was kind of maybe like a test, a spiritual test of sorts. And so I think maybe for some of you, this person is the one who kind of sits on the fence here. And something happened here and Spirit's trying to level them up, but they're still kind of thinking maybe I'll destroy something. Spirit's trying to get this person on a path, like to start from the bottom and to be on a path and to take the long way around. And to look at, yeah, there's a devil energy here. And I think that's some kind of like relationship and to walk away from some kind of situation that they built for themselves based on some kind of relationship that was based on maybe an affair, worldly gains, the darker sides of like human nature that were leaned into and like not questioned at all. Because we all make mistakes, okay? But I don't know. Like I'm thinking, let me not get into all that, but I've just been thinking recently where it's like, but if you make a mistake, you have to be able to say that it was a mistake. You have to be able to say that it was bad. You can't just be like, who amongst us hasn't stolen someone's man? Huge pop star that just wrote a song about that. Ew. Like somebody has to, especially when you're dealing in an adult realm, people have to be able to say, this was wrong. Like I shouldn't have done that. We can forgive that if you heal yourself and you can acknowledge that there's a wrongness in that, you know? But yeah, so somebody here is like, has to move away from something here in order to learn. But I think instead they're wanting to maybe come towards you. And this could be a reversal, like a Uno reverse, which isn't the point, to kind of teeter-totter back and forth. Because this could be the person from pile number 1 for some of you. And then they engaged with somebody who does this kind of shit for a living, I just heard. They do this kind of shit for a living. You know, they split up a house, they, you know, to gain. This could be somebody that like hops from relationships, and they could have learned that, or they've just marinated in that. They've just been around that. And so they're maybe thinking about doing that over here in order to like, but that's not the point. Spirit's trying to message this person. Something about being independent. They were doing this in the past. They needed to leave this codependent weird shit. They needed to leave this situation with a karmic of all karmics. And they needed to, if this is the person who sits on the fence, because for some of you, this is not that. And they needed to be independent so that they could build with spirit, but also like build with this person. I feel like there would have been a happy little accident here. I don't really like this energy. It seems immature. It seems... What they're seeing differently is that they're caught. It's not wisdom. It's a devil caught by the tail. And yes, they are from my past. That's why I know who they are and what they do. Yeah. Hi, babes. Okay. This one's kind of confusing me. And it's because somebody here maybe sits the fence. Like they go back and forth here. And it's because this, to me, it's like almost take this person out of it. And there's just like only looking at these two situations. This is somebody who doesn't think about themselves in the situation. What kind of person would I have to be to engage in that? Because it's just like with the nodes. We talk about this all the time, the north node and the south node. To go after your north node, you should come up through your south node. That's a grounding energy. If you just go after your north node, it's greed and there's no foundation and it all just kind of falls apart and you can just eat and eat and eat and it's never, never, never enough. And I feel like this person just only looks at like, well, what if I go over there? What would my life be like? What if I go over there? What would my life be like? And it's like they just don't think about themselves at all. The person that they are and like the person that they would become. It just feels floaty. I don't really like this energy because I can't quite grasp it too. Like that's another thing. And it makes me feel kind of confused. Yeah, 7 of Cups. And I think it's because this person sits on the fence. There is definitely a person here who is a destroyer and who like means to break up relationships. And I think they mean to profit from it in some kind of way. It's like a kind of greed thing. But there's somebody else here who just sits on the fence. And because they sit on the fence, I think between good and evil, not to be like, you know, extreme, but it's like there are right things and there are wrong things. And so like this person, they kind of know that, but they just also are like, well, what's best for me? And so they're constantly in this like strategic mindset. And that's the thing is like, so it's heavily on impulse. And this person sort of knows this soul, it's like flickering for this soul because of the way that their life has gone, that they don't know how to see long into the future, sustainable. Well, how do you build something sustainable long-term into the future? You live by principles and virtues and values. And that tends to be, then you don't make a bunch of enemies and you don't fuck a bunch of people over. And so why have enemies when you can have friends? And you build that kind of solid foundation around yourself and you're clearing out your karmas. Well, this person hasn't quite grasped that yet. So they're still kind of like confused. And this is a confusing energy to tap into. And from that confusing space, they're looking at this Queen of Pentacles, which I think is you. Somebody stable, somebody confident, somebody well-balanced in their right and left brains and hemispheres and things kind of growing around you and you having a natural confidence because you have a solid foundation under you. You are that person who came up from your north node or came up from your south node to go after your north node, your destiny energy, the kinds of energies that you're meant to learn about and integrate in order for your soul to progress well and holistically. You have done that. And that's what I think spirit is kind of showing this person, you and your energy, to know what it looks like. you're an answer for this person, but not in like they have to go get you. It's like, look at this person's path. Look at what this person has done. Look at how this person builds their life. You know, that's what this person's supposed to learn, because this person wants what you have. They want the Queen of Pentacles. You know, they want the stability. They want the confidence. They want things to grow around them, but they just want to jump like into those kind of situations. It's not grounded at all. And it's because this person feels really, they always get themselves into situations with like authority. And I don't think the authority around them, the person who's like has the money or the access to the bank account or owns the house, I don't think this is the best of people. So they always get themselves in this kind of situation. And that's what feels kind of familiar, I think, with the past lives. It's a familiar pattern. And this person, there's a lot of truths that this person has to ignore. And it's reinforced by the people that they're around. I do think there's a group around this person, and it comes out a lot in the readings. So I feel like you can kind of put that together, but there's some kind of authority that holds this person in. I think this person is very powerful, but they have to bust out of this. But this is the fence sitter. So this could be like a person who's part of a couple where there's one person who knows exactly what they are. They know exactly what they're doing. That's the person we started off the reading with. Like, this is a person who's trying to kind of, it feels like a spiritual virus. They want to split in order to profit. Energy, money, and in order to advance themselves and to kind of build an identity. That's who this person is. They're defensive that I'm calling them out, by the way. And I do think that there's kind of a way in. That person, I think, is intimidated by you as well, because you seem to have either stood your ground or like your foundation wasn't rocked the way that they thought that it was going to be or something. Because they like to create chaos and fights and competition, because if they can split, then these people kind of are mad at each other, but really they should kind of be mad at this person. But again, this person seems to profit, and they get away with it because these two people are like kind of profiting. Again, this to me looks like a spiritual virus. Yeah. And only they profit. So even if you kind of try to hitch your wagon to this weasel, like only they are going to profit, you know? Somebody here wanted to be like the King of Pentacles. They're not going to be with this person. Yeah, so I think that there's been something kind of damaged or ruined here, and somebody maybe has a lot of love. Who is this person? I'm confused. I feel like this reading has been all over the place. You know, where it's like, I don't trust this energy. I don't like this energy. And I think for a lot of you, it's because if this is somebody that you love in the past or whatever, like this person is just weak. Like that's what it is. They're weak and they involve with other people who are, this person's more like weak and kind of like, neutral's not quite the right word. Agnostic, maybe. I don't know. They're just weak and they'll just go along with whatever. And then they get surrounded by people that are not, that are strong, but selfish, and they're in this destructive energy, and they're trying to brainwash and initiate this person into that kind of way of being. C. Conway, thank you so much. Thank you, Jess. Is it possible to do a reading on spirits' advice on how to come up through our south node to express our north node, or is that too complicated? That's a good one. We'll keep that one too. It is totally possible. I like that. Yeah. So this has been kind of all over the place. And I think it's also, that's another like part of this person's karma, is that how this person, I think, wants you to love them and choose them. They don't know how to be that person. They just know how to destroy and how to be weaselly and strategize, because that's who they've been around and that's what worked on them. And they also, even in the tarot readings, this person's energy is so infused and marinated in these kinds of people that they're around. Not to excuse this person for their own choices and their own behavior. I think this person kind of feels like they're not as bad as the people that they've gotten involved with, but then they got involved via an affair, you know, and then surrounded by people who kept that affair a secret, and so don't be surprised when that energy, this is kind of like, don't come crying over here. If you're going to know that these people are of the ilk, and you're going to willingly engage and you're going to bind yourself to them via contracts and you're going to get all involved in that, don't come crying over here when it turns on you, because it's okay. This is kind of a person where it's like, it's okay for this energy to be perpetrated towards like other people. This is somebody who, I don't know, say they're in the royal family and it's like, we want certain things for our kids, but we're going to unleash this certain guy we have in our family on all your kids. Well, that's hypocrisy, you know, and privilege, which is a nasty combo. Don't want one thing for your kids, for them to be safe and for them to be treated a certain way, and not want the same thing for our kids. Don't do that. Like, it's kind of like with this person, it's like, yeah, I mean, like, I was the cheater. I didn't get cheated on. It sucks to get cheated on, but like also it's like pretty rad to cheat sometimes. Like, you know, so don't advocate for cheating and then get upset when you get cheated on and want to come crying over here. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that with this person. They sit on the fence. They're a bundle of hypocrisy. They're a bundle of contradictions, which is a difference from paradox energy, where things just kind of, this person just simply holds not paradoxical views that kind of fit together perfectly, that seem like they shouldn't. This person just nurses contradictions, and it's just a drainage kind of energy to their energy and to the people around them. And I think Spirit's trying to get this person's attention and say, you are a fence sitter of the worst kind. And you're not, this came out recently in a reading that'll come out on the channel, but it's like, you're not neutral. Like, you think you're neutral and but you're playing both sides of the fence. And that's like that's something other than neutral. That's a spy that plays both sides. That's you're selfish. There's a lot of on the dark side of things, you know, you're selfish, you're maneuvering. This is not a neutral energy that you think you're in, but you just try to maintain face with both sides of the fence. That's kind of, I get what this person's getting, but they have a heart, and they you know, it's like this cheating. Well, I wouldn't have cheated, but I stood to gain so much, you know, like that's what this person's kind of like, you know, and it's kind of the opposite of being on a spiritual journey, because this person just sort of, they have a heart, they have a mind, they have reason, they have the ability to reflect on themselves, but their reflection is very self-serving, and it just ends up making excuses and justifications for their actions instead of saying, actually, that was wrong. And once they start to peel back that it was wrong, I think they can start to look at the situation that they're in and the people that they're around in a better way. But it causes them anxiety. This is a person who is caused anxiety. So if you're dealing with this situation, it's probably best for you to get away from it, because it's confusing. This is extremely confusing. And you don't know who's in front of you. Is it the person who is like a destroyer, who likes to split and just, you know, has this strong spiritual virus just in them? Or is it this person who, goes along with it and just kind of fence sits? You don't know. But this person, I don't think they have a spine, because they're like, even me suggesting that they might have to kind of speak up for the right thing to do, they're nervous. And I understand. Yeah. Strength. So there's somebody here whose karmas are to be put right in the position that they're in. They're right in the position that they're in because they're weak on the inside. And I say that as a recovering coward myself. I am also a coward. I understand this. But I will say, I woke up, I'm extremely moral. And that is the thing that woke me up. And I'm very empathetic. And so I kind of could tell early on that, like, I can't sleep at night, like being around these kinds of people, because I wanted everybody to like me. And it didn't really take, honestly, too long in my journey where I was like, actually, I don't think I want everybody to like me. I think it's very important that I just make it known that I'm not down with this kind of stuff, because I don't want people to even ask me to do a rotten thing or to think that it's okay, and that I'm not, because people weren't scared of me enough, you know? But now I try to have like such thundering morality that somebody is going to pause before they bring up some kind of bullshit idea to me, you know? Like, you know, I don't want to help you cheat as a tarot reader. I don't, like, you know, like, so, you know, I feel like that's who this person is. They're crying and stuff. I don't think this person's particularly bad. Courage is the most important of all the virtues, because it is upon courage that all the other virtues stand. And this person don't got it. So you really, if you stand next to this rickety building and the wind blows a little too hard, it's going to fall on your head. And that's who this person is. They're the rickety building, and they have to kind of firm themselves up. And if they're not going to choose to do that, then they're making a choice. This is the kind of person where they think their passivity, it excludes them from some kind of consequence. But their passivity is making a choice. Not making a choice is making a choice. Making a choice not to stand up, making a choice not to speak out, you know, or to challenge somebody. And you know what? The other thing, in case this is you and the energies are reversed, let me just tell you, okay, there was this person, and we were friends, but we also worked together, and she was in like a superior position, and I have a strong sense of morality, and I also like have a lot of ideas and stuff. And so I was like intimidated by her at first, because she has a very strong personality, and she's also like very, you know, but I quickly kind of learned that she's not a bad person, you know, that she's just, I actually like kind of like that energy in a person, that somebody who's very confident and knows what they think. I like knowing where I stand with people. And so I started to kind of push back and like challenge her. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And so we ended up having a great working relationship. We worked together for several years. I'm feeling like, I wonder if she's psychic. Cause I just felt like, goosebumps. And she called me on the phone and she said, I got somebody else here now. And I found myself saying, could you just disagree with me a little bit? Because I'm feeling uncertain. It's okay. Can you just play devil's advocate? I don't, she's like, I just miss you having an opinion and like, standing up to me. And I thought that people like that have like strong opinions didn't want you to ever challenge them. But I realized that she's kind of like a strong personality and it's okay for me to have a strong personality or strong opinions too. And that she felt it made her a better person, even if she disagreed with me and ended up going with something else. And so we just kind of had that relationship. And she said, I miss it. I really miss like having you there and you not being afraid to say, well, I kind of disagree. I think that we should go about it this way. So I feel like this person, if this is you and you're like, yeah, I do sit the fence and I have engaged in things that I should like stand up against. And I think it's because maybe you're kind of like me and you think that people won't like you and you're maybe high in agreeableness like me. And you think, oh, well, people want me to be agreeable and things just go really well. And I try to kind of reflect back, but it's like, it is maybe giving weaselly, but I think there's a group here that's like not really a weasel. They try to find inside of them the place where they overlap with everybody. And so it makes them a slippery fish. And so if that's you, I'm just letting you know that a lot of people, it makes some of us calm down to know where you sit. And actually, maybe it's a huge thrust towards like clearing out your karmas because you know who's for you and who's not. And like, are you trying to keep people around? Why are you trying to keep people around you? I think it's a safety thing, but like if somebody goes against your morals or something and pulls you kind of down, why are you wanting to keep that person pleased and around you? Because they can be around you and you can be able to challenge them. I actually enjoy relationships like that. If we just disagree and your morals aren't where my morals are, but you have your own set of morals and we can talk about it, I like having those people around. I like people who just know who they are and know why they think the way that they think. I enjoy that, and so I feel like some of you need that just the promise of that. It's like, well, people are not just going to hate you outright because you have an opinion. And if they do, well, I guess some people will. If they do, it says a lot about them and that might be useful information to have for you. And it might actually, in terms of a soul process, might be useful. It might be useful. Because I feel like somebody is meant to be in this position because they're meant to go from the 9 of Swords, this kind of anxious, I don't know what to do, I'm crying every single night. I feel so weak inside my own energy at just the thought of having to stand up for myself. I know because I've been there. To how do I have like this kind of inner strength and how do I like bring it out of me? For me, I realized it was already there. And it just hurt me a lot to stuff it down. And I'm wondering if that's like this person too, where it's like, no, actually I do have a strong like moral compass or I have a strong moral code and I'm ready to learn how to say it or learn how to speak it. Okay. So the other thing, I think I'm supposed to tell you this. Mercury is like a split energy. And I never really understood this. Mercury rules over communication and it exalts in Pisces, and Pisces can be a bit of a hazy kind of energy. But one thing is Mercury will confuse people and it will clarify to people. And that's how, like, especially spiritual teachers, like when they're talking, some people will get it and some people will not get it. And they've just made peace with that, I realized. And I started to piece this together learning about Jesus because Jesus was a part of the Jewish tradition and they have like the whole rabbi teachings, and a lot of religious teachings do this, by the way, where they have a public teaching and they have a private teaching. And in the Gnostic Gospels, I think it was in the Gospel of Thomas, they say Jesus intentionally teaches in parables to the masses because it is a bit confusing. Whereas I was told in Christian school and like Bible school and everything that Jesus taught in parables in order to be clear. But actually he told in parables because you have to have a certain mind primed to understand those parables. You have to chew on it and it's priming the mind. Where in private, he would say certain things to his disciples. And it was, I can't remember which disciple it was, but he was having a certain conversation with him. And somebody asked him, he said, well, what did he tell you? And he said, if I told you what he told me, I would be stoned for sure. And stoning was a punishment back in those days reserved for adulterers and blasphemers. And blasphemy is believing that you are God, right? And so I think Jesus, in some way, shape, or form, because Jesus was always trying to say, follow me, like follow the path that I'm on. He wasn't trying to set himself apart, right? And I don't know why I'm going into all this detail, but like, so I think it was some version of like, we are all connected to God and we have to like kind of bring that out. And so he was like, yeah, I couldn't really tell you what he told me because it was blasphemous, and there's always going to be some idiot that thinks that literally actually they are God, like, and not the way that it's kind of meant. But anyways, But that's Mercury for you. Mercury will confuse the people that it's meant to karmically because their karmas don't support the truth coming through. And I was also thinking it's a bit of a sedative because I was thinking about the people in my life that like really hurt me, but I thought that they loved me. And I think my karmas were to be around those people for some reason. I had some kind of like something to exchange with those people. And in a way, I think Mercury being the confuser of me thinking, I think they love me, and I'm still around them. I think it's God's mercy a bit, where I didn't have to be confronted so blatantly. I don't think I needed that in my karmas. For some, maybe it's helpful to be around somebody and be like, yo, you hate me. And yet I still have some kind of exchange. But for me, I think it was not needed. And I think that I was able to kind of confuse myself. And then kind of slowly come out of that. And that's like a version of God's love. So all of it's working for you is what I'm getting. And Mercury is there. Mercury is working for you and maybe protecting you with confusion. Maybe some of you are like, I think some people in this group are coming up out of a confusion where they're like not trying to be a moral relativist anymore. They're like, there are certain things that are right and there are certain things that are wrong. And that can be a thing. And we can actually hold compassion for people who mess up. Because that was like a lot for me to kind of, no, I do know what right or wrong is. I do have a North Star. And that's why I can burn through karmas. And that's why I can know where I sit in any given time. And somebody's coming up out of that and they're saying, yeah, there is a way to, when you have empathy and you know how your actions affect other people, it's not something that you can really ignore. But you can also have compassion for the person that you were being. Somebody here is like maybe coming up out of that confusion. So I don't know where you're at on the timeline here. It feels like there's a plan. It feels like this is somebody below, like regardless of how like low this person's energy sank, this is still a person beloved by God. This is somebody who there's a plan. There's guides working here. There's a plan to get this person like up on because it feels like this person's energy got spinning the wrong way down, but they're just trying to get it. I just heard like that equal and opposite reaction. Like they need it to like kind of go the other way so that it starts up again. Because this person I think has somebody here has a good engine, and if it could just get clicked the right way again, then they could start to clear their karmas and like backtrack, and like reascend. But they got involved with somebody here who I think really meant to destroy them or really meant to pull them apart from their confidence, I think. Like their confidence and their ability to speak or something like that. This was a weird one. Kind of confusing. Yeah, there was some kind of ending here, some kind of painful ending. And I think this person, again, was trying to confuse themselves about the ambiguity of this. But it wasn't ambiguous. And that feels like a hurdle for this person to get over. But once they get over it, it's going to cause them pain. That's what they've been trying to avoid. They caused somebody else pain here. There was like a rotten, wrong ending. Shouldn't have ended this way. There was a lot of truths not said. And that's going to connect them, actually. Yeah, I think they might maybe realize that there was some type of temptation here that they fell for. Yeah, but that is also what's going to put them on their right path here. It's blessed. This path is blessed to get them back on it. Okay, so that was what it was, and I'm going to leave that there. Mercury was definitely operating in that pile. It's going to maybe confuse some of you. It confused me. Because there's, I think, more than one person in each of these piles, and that's what is thought and felt whenever somebody looks at you. I think there's confusion about, I don't know which one you are. I don't know if you're the destroyer or if you kind of sit the fence and you're very weak and you will just kind of go along with it because you want what you want, but it's moral fortitude. Because you can have morals. I feel like somebody here is a fence sitter and that person has morals, but what they don't have is moral fortitude. And that's what's being called to be developed here. And that requires courage and the willingness to like stand up and say something so that they can live out their morals. Because getting the morals isn't the problem for somebody here, I think. So, okay. That was confusing. That was pile number 2. We're leaving that. I need to watch this again. I had to step away for a moment. He did say he had completely fallen in his own eyes. This is someone who tries to do good by himself and everyone. Yeah. Because there was, in pile number 2, there's definitely somebody who tries to do good, but they don't have courage and they don't have inner strength and they don't have moral fortitude, but they have the desire to do that and they have morals. So then their mind just becomes their own worst enemy, where it just makes excuses and it makes, because they know that their heart is good, but their actions are still not good. And they conflate the two. They confuse the two. Because they'll say my actions were good because I know my heart is good. When actually two things can they're in a contradiction, and that's kind of reminding me of like there's cognitive dissonance here, where it's like, well, I know that I'm a good person, but I didn't act in accordance with that. That's because that's somebody who has morals but not moral fortitude, and so that's what they're called to build, and that's a hard one to build. And I say as somebody who's been there, I really have been down that path, because I'm not a very strong person naturally. I think I've built it a lot, but I remember like the early stages of that where it was really hard, because I always like to, I'm a Gemini. I like to make people laugh. I like to, make everybody get along. I like that. I think there's the Geminis who like to bridge like those kind of gaps. And I think there's the Geminis that really lean into the two-facedness. And I definitely like to bridge kind of opposite ideas and opposite things. And so it was just really hard. It was really hard for me to kind of be like, this isn't cute. This isn't funny. Like, there's certain things that are just not funny. There's like, yeah. So I feel like this person's kind of on that path. There's a minimization. This is somebody who's like minimizing. And that's like their big crime, where it's like they minimize and they don't take things very seriously. But they do that in the presence of people who need to be stopped, or like need to be told, like, actually what you do is wrong. And I'm not going to be a part of it. And I'm not going to make it better for you. So yeah. We are our anchor today. Where is the anchor card when you need one? Exactly. Mine is triple Taurus. Okay. Pile number 3. Actually, I'm going to compassion this face really quickly. All right. So, pile number 3. What do they feel and think whenever they see you? Oh, dang. Okay, so this person thinks that you're killing it, basically. They think that you're doing really well. They think that you're making some kind of progress. Something here like might be blowing this person's mind. I always kind of get that with this. Or maybe like some of your texting with this person and the things that you're telling them are like blowing their mind or something. This person thinks that this is like fair, that you get what it is that you want. It could be that you've caught up with this person recently and they didn't know what it was that you were up to. And then like this person was like, oh, dang. But they kind of think to themselves like, that's fair. Like you deserve good things to happen. And I think this person may also be getting some level of karma from hearing this. And I don't think necessarily mean that in like as a punishment or in a bad way, but somehow there may be some kind of karmic exchange here. They're thinking about you when you were smaller. Maybe this person knew you when you were younger or when you were a child or something. They were thinking about, or they could be thinking about something that you gave them. And they're kind of like re-examining that, or they're re-examining the seed of you, like the origin of you. Like, because it seems to me this person knew where you started, or like, okay, so this seed grew into this thing, and it's like, like it's hard to compute for this person. Like there's something here, but whatever it is, it's like they're proud of you. I feel like there's a sense of this person feeling proud of you, that you are strong and that you are successful and that you are making some kind of progress towards your goals or something like that. Or like, because this person, maybe they knew that you were in a tough situation before in the past and like you got out of it. And maybe that's your origin. They think about like your origin story, like where you started from. And it could be like where you started from in this particular chapter. Like they know that you like were in a bad situation with like, that was restrictive or something here. What does this person feel whenever they look at you? I think they reflect on their own lack in some way. And I don't know that it has to do with you. It could for some of you, but I think they reflect on that. So I got this new Romeo and Juliet deck, and there's one quote in there where it was like, it is my poverty, not my will, that consents. And I'm getting that. It's like, it's not my will that consents. It's not the part of me that is strong and has a will. It's the part of me that comes from a place of lack and poverty. It's a part of me that is like, that consents. And so maybe they think about that in regards to their own life. Like it's my own, like it's from a place of my own poverty that I consent to this life that I have or something like that. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with something that they did to you in the past. It's just like you got them thinking about that. Tiger Butterfly, thank you so much for the super chat. The music of the night from Phantom of the Opera. Interesting. Okay, so yeah. I mean, this person, they really like you. This person really, really likes you. And I think this person maybe has built something for themselves, you know, but you do have them thinking about it though. Like from a King of Swords kind of perspective, like, or they're thinking, oh, well, I've just been in this King of Swords perspective, or I was really two-dimensional. Or they might even be thinking they were wrong about you in some kind of way. And I think they're looking back at their own life. Where did I go wrong? But I think this person is successful from like certain standards. Like, so where did I go wrong? Why doesn't it feel like that for me or something? Because this person sees you as like being victorious. This person has achieved something, but they're not very happy, I don't think. But you might not know that about them. They feel upset here about a Queen of Wands. Some kind of illusion. I think this person is thinking about somebody that they're maybe involved with, in a relationship with. And it could be as an affair. You might not even know this is going on. Like they could be sleeping with their receptionist or something. I don't know. But it also could be somebody that they partnered with in business or partnered with, feels like long term. And there was some kind of an illusion here about like this Queen of Wands energy. And that the Queen of Wands could be you. So they could be thinking, oh, there was an illusion about that. Maybe this person also, they could have been really like attracted to you. It doesn't have to be in a weird way. They could just have thought, oh, well, you're very attractive. And so probably you're just going to do this with your life, or you're just after that, or you're trying to get your MRS degree or whatever. Like, but then there's something here where like you are seen as like progressing or making some kind of progress. This person's like, how did I get this so wrong? And it could be your energy, because this person, maybe for some of you, this person thought you wanted to have an affair with them, or, they could have just looked at you as like being really schmegzy, but then they're like, oh, like you are this like kind of other thing. But also they could have been involved with a Queen of Wands that is that, you know, that just wanted their MRS degree from them or something, and they didn't see that person clearly, or they didn't see what jumping in with that person clearly. So I feel like it brings up some kind of like fear or shame, but this person is very logical when they're thinking about it. They're not like thinking or feeling much, because it's like, what do they feel whenever they look at you? They feel perplexed. That's the feeling. The feeling is perplexed, and it's because they're thinking kind of, where did I go wrong? And I don't know if that thought is even all that pointed and conscious, but they kind of compare their life to your life. And because from where they sit, your life looks successful, or it looks like you're going somewhere vibrant or stunning, I'm hearing, like, or just like active. But with this person, they feel like they've achieved something, and it's very bland. It's kind of all over under their control, but they also might feel that they got duped in some way, like. And it could be because of like who they chose to partner with in some kind of scenario, but it also could be like somebody who gave them advice in their past that was like, if you go down this path, then that's going to lead to blah, blah, blah. But actually it wasn't, this person doesn't. And I think whatever it's going to lead to blah, blah, blah. I think this person that we're looking into associated that with certain emotions. Okay, so that's going to feel like this. Because when whoever in their past, and it could be like a teacher, like a career advisor, you know, the counselor at their school that was meant to advise them on their career path, or like what classes they needed to take or whatever. It could be somebody like that, where they were like, well, they said if you, or it could be their parents, right? But they said if you get maybe an education, and if you know, then that is the key to success. And I think this person heard success, and then they felt a certain way. You know, they felt happy and fulfilled or whatever. And they're kind of thinking, but what went wrong here? I think they think about your emotions on a high level. Like they think that you are very emotional in a way that they like. You're emotionally like balanced. And I think they think about that. And they think maybe that they would like that. They would like to have your emotions in some way, like directed towards them in a positive way. Maybe they're thinking that they had an opportunity for that in the past for some of these people, or they're thinking that they would like to be like you. Because you're emotional, but you're not emotional. Like you're not all over you're not like dragged around by the tail by your emotions. I think this person maybe would like to offer you something. And I don't know what arena this is, because I think for some of you, this could be to do with business. They would like to maybe offer you some kind of a new beginning, but you're moving in a different direction and you're moving away from this person. And so I think this person is kind of thinking that you have everything, or you're on your way to getting everything that you want, or the things that you want. Like you have a bright, happy future, and it's like you steadily like moving away from them. And they're thinking that they want to offer you they want to offer you the Ace of Pentacles. So for some, it's like they could want to offer you some kind of money, or stability. I don't think this person offered you stability or emotions in the past. I think at best what you got from this person was that King of Swords sword energy, but the King of Swords, I always notice the sword is kind of cattywampus. So it's like not even like the upright truth. You didn't really get the truth of who this person was. You got like some kind of mental energy from this person. And sometimes mental energy doesn't feel like mental energy, because sometimes mental energy is like, okay, I know how I'm supposed to come across in this certain situation because of my role or something like that. And so it could have been that you got that, but it was kind of just mental energy. And this person, I think, is wishing that in the past they would have, I feel like there's kind of a recognition that they just weren't there, but like they could have, I think now they're thinking that they want Pentacles energy and water energy, which is what you need for something to grow, right? Like soil and the water, so they want something here to kind of grow with you, because you seem to know, I don't know, things seem different around you. That's this person, things seem different for you than they seem in their life, in a way that this person admires and kind of yearns for. And it feels like a deep yearning, like in their soul kind of thing. This doesn't have to be romantic. Yeah, I do think this person kind of keeps an eye on you, by the way. You could be, I just looked down and saw this, like see the picture where it's like, everybody's like, and so you could be the subject of a group chat here. But what this person's like learning about you is kind of like, they might wait for information about you to come through a group chat. That's like another thing. And they're kind of sneaking around. I don't know. Maybe they don't say anything in this group chat, but they just kind of wait for things to be mentioned, or they're sneaking around on your social media or something here. If you're with somebody else, is maybe a King of Wands. Maybe they're looking to see if there's a King of Wands, because you're in a lot of Wands energy here. Maybe I think this person could have seen you as a Queen of Wands in the past. Now you're in the Six of Wands, success energy, but they're like looking about this King of Wands. So if you're with somebody, they could think that that person has the traits of a King of Wands, or they're waiting to see if like if one shows up on the scene or something. Because you're just moving in such a positive direction. They think that you're really attractive and that you're attracting in like a lot of attractive energy. So there's bound to be a King of Wands that notices that you're a Queen of Wands and wants to move with you, kind of thing. So they're confused about, I'm hearing, why did I leave? It's either they could be confused about you leaving or conflicted about it, because you could have left a group here and there was seemingly a lot of love, but you left that behind. That could be something that they're confused about. But it also could be them leaving, like, and it might not even be something to do with you. Again, I think this person's kind of going back through things in their life and they're like, why did I do that? Why did I make that decision? So there could have been a certain group, or like maybe even home or something. And they're like, why did I leave that place? Like, okay, secret Knight of Wands. Okay, maybe they're wondering if you left. Maybe there was like a secret Knight of Wands energy. I don't know if this person was secretly a Knight of Wands, like they were, I heard that in a very undignified, ungraceful way. I just heard they could have been porking someone else. But like they could have been a king. They could have just been a player. They could have been like out and about, but they thought it was a secret or something. So they're wondering if you made a decision to cut them loose and like you left. They're wondering why maybe you left, if it's you, but they also could be wondering about themselves, or they could be wondering about somebody else. This person, I feel like, is sifting through their life path and their life choices. But I can tell that this person is like, they're not used to doing that. They're not used to they're genuinely curious about themselves and about their life and about the why they feel the way that they feel and stuff. They're genuinely curious, and because they feel like they have the Ten of Pentacles. They feel like they have the Ten of Pentacles. They feel like they kind of have everything. Maybe they think that Spirit was trying to show them something different with you. There's a lot of, I don't think this person's entirely sure what they think because they're trying to piece it together. But they feel sad that you're kind of leaving them behind. They genuinely feel, I think, happy and admiring for your journey and like you making whatever progress that you're making. I think this person's actually really proud of you. They feel curious about how, because they think about your origin and like the seed of something and how that turns into whatever you are. They're confused about what they missed like about you in the past. That's why they're thinking about that seed energy, because they're like, I guess that was always in there, huh? You know, kind of a thing. Like, so what does the seed of that look like? And I just heard innocence is the seed of nobility. So it might have looked like innocence, or it might have looked like something that this person didn't take too seriously. That was always kind of there. And they're just trying to put something together, the puzzle of you. And they're trying to figure out like how they think or how they feel. But I actually think this person feels, I don't know. I noticed something about myself early on in my life where a lot of times like the guys that I would end up dating, I would be like, who dates you? Like I would meet them and it wasn't necessarily that I would feel like attraction or anything. I would be like, what kind of person dates you? That's why I thought when I met Alex. And it's always me. The answer was always me. And so that was kind of like a sign of attraction, but it didn't come through like direct attraction. I was just like very curious about someone. That's kind of what I'm picking up on with this person, where they're like, what kind of person dates you or like gets to be with you or like lives their life with you? Okay, as I said that, I felt like a dam break. And then like there's tears. And I kind of feel like maybe for some of you, this person's protecting themselves from feeling the attraction that they feel towards you. Or admitting that it is attraction. Because, or that it feels maybe this person in the past, because some of you had like a fling with this person, or they thought that it was just sexual attraction, but it's actually emotional attraction. It's like deeper attraction. And I think they're trying to guard themselves from admitting that that's what it is for some of you. Yeah. Because they're in this like King of Swords energy where they're being like they're intellectualizing and they're trying to, you know, be dignified, I think, but it's like the performance of dignified. Whereas I think that maybe you're going through a process towards genuine, like dignified, but you're willing to go through the alchemy and the process of it, which means feeling a little lanky or a little weird or a little awkward in order to become. And I think that that's what this person admires, because we all kind of know that if you don't take any risks and you don't put yourself out there, then, you know, think about like, okay, so have you ever gotten a little fluffy over the winter and you're like, okay, I got to go to the gym, you know, January 1st, but you're kind of like, okay, I can't lift as much as I used to. And I used to be in here all the time. And now I'm going to be like that beginner person and I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb and whatever. But you have to put yourself through that embarrassing kind of, and it's really only embarrassing to you because most people don't care or like even look at you at all. But you're like, okay, I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to struggle through the first few workouts. And that's the hard part. But then eventually I'm going to get my grace back. Eventually I'm going to get, you know, Stella's going to get her groove back kind of thing, you know? And this person admires that in you, where like, it's kind of beginner's mind, or you're not afraid to start, again, with the seed. You're not afraid to start over at the beginning or to start something new. That I think there's something about you where even if you feel embarrassed, that you will just do it. And it actually is turned into something like really beautiful within you. I think that's, even if they don't know that that's the thing that they like and admire, that's the thing that they like and admire, is that you don't take yourself so seriously where you always have to be the expert, or you always have to be, you know, you can be the student, you can have beginner's mind. You're not scared of being looked at like that. Or if you are, you have that courage and you just push right through it. Yeah, because this person feels like they have to kind of be in control of everything. Yeah, and they're looking over at your life. More wands energy for you. But, you know, wands is the mastery of kind of competition. So maybe this person is thinking that you push through a lot of like competition, that you've in some way dealt with that. But it's like I'm not really getting this person viewing you as a competitive person. Like just I actually think this person may have thought that you wouldn't do so well in competition, like direct competition. But actually you seem to be holding your own, but it's because that wands energy is like your actual self. Like I think you're just kind of putting forward your energy and like, let's see how it does kind of a thing, you know? And it feels like high vibrational wands energy where you're kind of mastering competition in some kind of way, but it's like you've transcended it in some kind of way. You compete with yourself, or you, I don't know. It feels really like this person, is learning a lot from watching you and being confused. I think is what I'm trying to say. They also feel defensive about, look, Hierophant, about, I think, their family structure and like the things that they were told. It feels very traditional and it feels very bound up with culture. So they could be questioning their own culture and the wisdom of their own culture. And well, my culture, even like culture in their family, told me to do this or told me to do that. And it ended up in some kind of loss. And, but also it could have to do with marriage. Yeah, judgment. They're feeling this judgment, but they're not really feeling it. They don't really allow themselves to feel it. They're just sort of logically thinking about it. Like, did I lose out? Or like, because it feels like this person was kind of ushered down a path based on what their culture told them to do. And I think maybe that was something to do with the marriage. And they thought that was the right thing to do. But then something here is like being unearthed. And it's being unearthed kind of via you. Like, yeah, heartbreak. There's a karmic relationship here that's teaching them something, but they don't want to look at it. They don't want to look at it. And they also don't want to move because they're in a comfort zone. Like this person's like in a comfort zone. Oh yeah. But there's shadow stuff. It's like right at the surface. I don't think that they're in it yet. And I really don't think this person, they are curious, but I don't think they're really doing shadow work. Tasha Blonde Diablo, thank you so much for the super chat. So like they're hiding their emotions. And I think the emotions that they have about you, all of them maybe makes them feel ashamed because, I think it makes them feel vulnerable, which makes them feel ashamed, or it makes them feel uncertain, because they might want to ask you something, but there might be something about you where you're younger or like you guys could have had a schmegdual relationship, but it was just, that's what they thought that it was in the past. They just thought that they were really attracted to you, but then turns out you are smart and you have something else that this person didn't see or acknowledge. And this person is ashamed that they didn't see that. And now they want to come back to you in a different energy, but it upsets the relationship dynamic that I think the two of you had in the past, if that makes sense, because they would have to put themselves in a student role. But I think this person was always taught to like, never let them see you sweat, like never have an emotion in front of people. You're always in charge, always have an answer. And this person's like, I don't think I have the answers. And I think this is actually, as scary as it is, I think that this is actually a really good thing for this person, because I do feel this person sort of needs to crumble. It's like, if you're going to become something else, first you must become nothing. And I think maybe this person, Phoenix energy kind of comes through. You're not scared to Phoenix yourself, to kind of throw yourself into the fire and like kind of purify, like what needs to go, because it feels like this person didn't really prune anything. It feels to me like they followed the playbook, some kind of playbook that they were given. They followed it to a T. They didn't question it at all, even when it felt wrong. But this person doesn't feel really too in tune with their feelings, and they felt that they needed to keep that preserved. The what they were told, and I think it was all the traditional stuff. It doesn't matter how you feel, and I even think this person maybe feels that they're allowed to have affairs on the side, and maybe for some of you were involved in that. But as long as they keep that. As long as it looks like they're following their like traditional, they don't have to, which is revealing. This person doesn't feel like they actually have to follow those teachings or anything. They just feel like they need to signal that to the people around them, which to me says maybe they don't actually believe those things. But I think this person's too scared to kind of go into it, because I remember not believing in Jesus for the first time, and I believe in Jesus now. But I remember it's like my relationship with that has like kind of shifted and changed. But I remember it was in a history of Christianity class. And just learning about the history and the hypocrisy, I was like, I very much firmly believe that the end and the means are one. And I was like, it was so clear to me that the scandals of the church, like the people who were selling indulgences and starting wars, like they couldn't really believe in the teachings of Jesus and do those things. And I was like, these people don't believe it. So why do I believe it? Clearly they don't believe it, because they're behaving so contradictory to what Jesus said to do. So I remember feeling scared because I couldn't be intellectually dishonest with myself about what I believed and what I didn't. So I had a long prayer. And I feel like this person is too scared to even do that. Like to admit to themselves where they genuinely are. Like they genuinely are having some kind of crisis of faith. But I feel like it just looks all kind of put together. Yeah. They keep thinking about this Queen of Wands. I'm wondering if this is you or if this is somebody from their past, because it doesn't have to be you. They're very defensive about it. Oh, the Empress. For some of you, this is somebody that they're with. And this is a manipulative person. They were really attracted to this person, and this person's very manipulative, and they're kind of good with their words, but they're very defensive about thinking about that this person is their karma and is their karmic, because I think maybe this person gets a lot of attention or whatever. And there was some kind of fantasy around this whole thing. And that they, this is some kind of, they manipulated their way to some kind of empress position. Yeah, Queen of Pentacles. And that I think this person is being called to be in a hermit mode and like go within and kind of process that. I think for some of you, that's what this is. I think they think somebody here wiggled their way into an empress position. Now, it could be somebody that they're with, and I think for a lot of them that's the case. But maybe it's their own mom, or it's their, I don't know, somebody that they really believed in. Yes. They're seeing through some kind of fantasy. They are actually seeing through it, but they're in denial. This is somebody that's in denial. So it's causing a bunch of pressure in this person, and that's what they're feeling. Whenever they see you, you have become this like spark or like an emblem where Spirit was able to get in. I feel like Spirit was able to get in to offer this person a new beginning. And they're thinking about maybe a new beginning. Maybe they're thinking about having a new beginning for themselves. Why are they thinking about that? King of Cups. Why are they thinking about that? Queen of Wands. Why are they thinking about that? Maybe they're waiting for their ships to come in, because they think about some kind of spiritual inheritance, I think, of partnering. Like with the water suit and the fire suit, to me, that's like creativity. So they think about that, like partnering, like, yeah, they think about maybe what they could build with you. But it seems like they would need a new beginning in order to do that. And maybe there's like some kind of painful ending, but I think they would only be thinking about it on a logical level and like, some kind of, and like I said, it doesn't have to be romantic. For some of you, this could be like your dad or something. And it's like, you don't really have the best relationship with your dad because he's around your mom, and your mom does weird shit to you. And like, you know, so they think about, well, I could have a better relationship with this person and that might feel better. But like, I don't know. It is my, what did I say? It is my poverty and not my will that consents. Yeah. I feel like this person has built a life where it is not their will and their personhood and their strength, but it is their poverty that consents to this lackluster kind of situation. But I think they're in a situation that from the outside looking in, it looks like everything glitters, but all that glitters is not gold. This person got the fool's gold of paths and partners, and there's no satisfaction here. And this person is, my ear just started ringing. So I feel like it's hard to hear this. Ear splitting is what I just heard. Yeah. I think this person needs to reconnect with the inner child, and somehow maybe they feel that way whenever they're talking to you as well. Like there's some kind of like little child energy where they're like, yeah, if they were aware of their feelings, which I feel like they try not to be, because it's enormous what's behind it. But like, and it doesn't even have to do with you. I think it has to do with this person's life and the way that they've built their life and stuff. That just the way that you've built your life, it stands at such a stark contrast, you know? So I think whenever they speak to you, it could be like on this Page of Cups level, like, hey, you know, and it feels like two little kids, you know, or like, hey, I was playing in the dirt and I found a worm, you know, it's like that kind of stuff. Or like where maybe this person thinks that a lot of people wouldn't be interested in it, but maybe you would be interested in it, you know? Alex said the other day, this is a quote that I'll remember from him forever, but he was like, I am more interested in what kind of worms are crawling around in my yard than I am about what's going on in celebrity culture. But I feel forced to, because like in order to have the conversations that people are trying to have, which I do care about, you know, having an entryway to talking about these kind of deeper issues, you know. But he's like, I don't really care what's going on like with this person or that person, because I was bringing up something. He's like, I have more interest in what kind of worms are crawling around in my yard. And I just thought that was funny. Yeah, because they want this like 10 of Cups, but I also think that they're afraid of people gossiping about maybe their money moves, because I think maybe this person has built their lives as a monument to money, or yeah, their fortune, their wheel of fortune. So I think this person maybe feels like, well, I would have to just throw in the towel with everything else that I built, and I don't want to have to do that. So they're in some kind of hangman position. They're thinking, they're stuck. They're looking at things differently, and they're looking at this King of Cups energy. This is interesting because it's the King of Swords kind of looking at the King of Cups. So that's what this is. This isn't emotional, like, right? what do they feel whenever they look at you? Or like, what are they thinking? It's the King of Swords. They're thinking about the King of Cups version of themselves. They're thinking about what they're feeling. And I think for some of them, they think that they're very emotionally mature. But this has totally been me in the past because I'm an air sign. I'm kind of a brain person. It makes me feel safer to be in my brain sometimes and think and use emotional language, but I'm not necessarily connecting with the emotions, if that makes sense. I can sit there. That's called intellectualization, and that is a defense mechanism. And I feel like that's kind of where this person's at. So they're thinking about the emotions that they possibly could be having, but they're not feeling them and processing them because they're big, whatever's in there. And I think it's actually more fully developed than this person gives themselves credit for. And I think they sense it. Part of them senses it and they know it, and they're just kind of keeping themselves apart from it. And they're afraid of being the King of Cups, really. This person's afraid of it. They don't view it as I think whatever culture they're from demonizes it, which could be any culture on the planet because of patriarchy that just kind of reigns supreme. It comes up through different cultures where you'll have different foods and different dress and different, but it's this like stalwart kind of thing. I'm supposed to be this like pillar. You'll have that version in every culture, So he's afraid of being the King of Cups. He doesn't view that as being empowered. Or, yeah, that word empowered, it felt very from the inside out, but like, I think he thinks about power. I'm supposed to have power and wield power, not be empowered. That's such a personal thing, And I don't think he was taught to value that. And so doesn't see the value in it. Does theoretically. This is somebody, I keep saying he, but this is like a masculine side if this is a female. But it's like, there's a lot of thinking. And I feel like, but when the sense I get from this is when it goes, it's going to go. Like, because there's a lot of actually beautiful energy here, kind of very emotional. So you might have sensed that in this person, but it was just Page of Cups. Maybe you thought this person was a Page of Cups, and I can totally see why you would get that perspective here. Like they're not very developed emotionally. They're more of the King of Swords, maybe this person's a scientist, or they're always telling you about data, and facts, but actually I'm getting that you're going to go with this person. They can sense it and they're scared of it, but they would go from the Page of Cups to the King of Cups really fast. It would be a flood kind of energy, and make them feel out of control. And so that's why they kind of sit here on the fence. And they think about happiness, and they think about having a happy family. They think about what they would have to give up whenever they think about you or whenever they're looking at you. That's what they're thinking about. But I think it's actually just Page of Cups. Like in the moment, I think it's just Page of Cups. There's just something about you that they like and they admire, and it makes them feel a certain way. And then I think later on they get curious and they kind of think about it. What is it about that person that, and they kind of think about it some more. And then they think about their own life. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's a start to like a kind of forensic, it's a start to some kind of forensic, it's not quite shadow work because they're not really in the shadow and they're not really in their emotions, but it is a start, and they are getting curious about life, and they're getting curious about themselves and their own existence and why they made the things, why they chose the path that they did. And I think the most devastating thing for this person is there's one answer to that question, and it is they were told to. It's the answer to that question, I think, for this person is patriarchy. I wonder if this person would have a strong reaction to somebody using the word patriarchy, even though it's a word with a definition and like it applies in certain, it's a system, it describes a system, because that is the one and only reason that this person is on the path that they are on. It is the singular reason. It's not, this person wouldn't naturally choose it. I can just sense it. They're actually much more eclectic than they give themselves credit for. And so if this person starts digging around, they're going to go to different sections of their life, but it's always going to be because that's what I was told was right. And that's what I was told a man is. And that's what I was told that I needed to do in order to be moral or whatever. It's going to be that answer, just exclusively. Over and over and over again. And I feel like maybe that's they're lining up the dominoes. They just showed me, yeah, that's what they're doing. It's mental, and they're lining up the dominoes. Okay, it's just because I was told to. I think this person fancies themselves a leader too, but they were just told to be what they are. So that's a follower. And I think that this person needs to have these kind of, actually, I think I'm a leader, but this is just me proving that I'm a follower. And it's not a dirty word to be a follower, but I think this person just fancies themselves a leader or something. So they're lining up the dominoes and then they're going to kick them all over. And then I just saw the last domino fall into the pool of water. And the pool of water that I saw in my mind, if you've seen the King Arthur movie, that movie did so bad in the reviews, but like we reference it a lot in this house. But there was like the king, the nasty king that killed King Arthur's father. Like he goes down to that like underground lake, and there's that slug woman that lives in there that has the 3 heads and all the octopus tentacles. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is going to sound it's crazy. But I'm seeing the domino kind of fall in there because that's where he went down to make the wish and then to make the sacrifice. So that might be, that could have been like a past life thing. I feel like there's a recognition of like, I made a wish and a sacrifice to be what I am. And I'm not where God would have wanted me. But it was because I wanted to be the king. I wanted to be like powerful, whatever. I feel like that means something. There was a wish and a sacrifice. And maybe this person did have to do something bad to get where they are. I don't know. But that's what it was. And they don't have to, Spirit is telling me like they don't have to like actually been propositioned by somebody to like do something bad, like make this sacrifice or whatever. But just their behavior, it was like a dark deal, like an energetic dark deal, And that little domino going over the edge, I'm seeing it float down to the bottom. And then I'm seeing this kind of, it almost looks like uranium, like the glow of uranium, but it's just like it's just going to kind of, which is like, I'm getting like atomic, like the sun. It's going to turn this person into like a sun energy is what I'm getting. It feels like something big is going to happen. It's going to happen all at once with this person. I don't know if it's going to be in this lifetime or in another lifetime, but when it happens, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen all at once. Because I actually think this person has a very rebellious spirit. And once they kind of recognize what's going on, I don't think that they're going to be musing around too much. This person, I think, is going to take maybe some kind of immediate action and be like, actually, I'm vehemently against whatever that is, So anyways, that was a weird one. But it's weird because you've played a very instrumental part in this person's self-reflection. Because I don't think that this person was so inclined to question their path because they were winning. This person looks like they were just winning. And so they were like, well, if you say that I'm not winning, like, it's just because you're jealous, it's just because you don't know what I have, but I don't know. There's something, it's something about this fire energy that you have and that you're moving away from this person that hits them. And also that they misread you in some kind of way. Because I think this person thinks they have all the answers. And if they don't have all the answers, their culture does. Or whoever told them to do whatever blind, like whoever was kind of leading them. And it doesn't have to be a singular person. It's like the keepers of their culture, like whoever, they only respect that voice, and you proved it wrong. And you didn't try to. I just think that you were there and you were living yourself and your life and your energy. And it gave a different result than this person was told to expect. And so that was the crack of maybe I'm wrong and maybe that's bullshit. Or maybe it's not always correct. And actually, because like when you do a deconstruction process from your religion, you really like, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You learned a lot of like amazing things. And that's what this person needs to do. Like there's some things that I actually agree with and that are helpful. And there's some things where it's just, I was just told and I was just like blindly following it. So, and I don't think you could have had this impact if you tried to. I just think that spirit moved through you and just placed you in front of this person so that they, at the right time, because spirit loves all of us. Spirit's always calling all of us home all the time. And we're all just walking each other home, like Ram Dass says. So anyways, that was pile number 3. That was an interesting one. Also with the poet, there might be a way that you say things that kind of slips past this person's defenses or they weren't expecting it or something. Is he worried about how he looks or how to show feelings? Yeah, I think both. I think all of it. But I don't think this person would necessarily think that that's what they're doing, But yeah, I think it's all of it. I think this person is just like, well, I look like I'm winning because I just am winning. And my emotions respond to the fact that I am winning. Like, I think that's how this person kind of thinks about it. But yeah, he is actually more concerned with how he looks because that to him is, oh, I get it. That's his definition of success. He just needs to look successful. And as long as he looks successful and people view him as successful, then he feels like he's successful. It doesn't come from the inside out. But he wasn't taught that because he was ushered in, he was indoctrinated into some kind of belief system. And we all were. Lord heaven help us. That's what goes on here on this planet. But yeah, like he was indoctrinated into some kind of system that he, followed blindly, because you start off as a kid, you don't know anything. And you're dependent on people. I mean, what are you supposed to do other than just follow like instructions, And I feel like that's what this person did. So there's this gap. Like this person is the king of the gap is what I'm getting. Like there's just this gap between nothing comes from the inside. But he thinks it does because he thinks the indoctrination is him. He thinks the indoctrination is his values. He thinks his indoctrination is his worldview. When actually it was stuff that he was given and he needs to sort through it. He needs to sort through it and see, because some does resonate with him. But some of it doesn't. And he has to be able to kind of disenchanted, I just heard. Are they redeemable? They're definitely redeemable, yeah. Oh, he's overplaying his victim card. Is ungodly and so unattractive. Yeah. Maybe he needs to reread his holy book. Yeah. That's the thing about a lot of these holy books is that you can just kind of read yourself into the pages, of it. You can cling on to certain things. You can take things out of you can make it say whatever you want it to say, which is, I don't know. Okay. So shall we go to a general message?
Yes.
Alex is like, we'll be here for 1,000 years.
Oh, no, that was just being fun.
Oh, okay.
You're actually not taking, it's not a long read today.
Yeah.
And even if it was, that's what it needs to be.
Exactly. Exactly. Hot pockets. That's what that just sounded like to me. Okay. I just went on a little rabbit hole in my mind about commercials in the 90s and stuff. Maybe that's relevant. Also, I was listening to somebody, I don't remember what they were talking about, but they were talking about one of their friends that came to America from a different country. And they were like, oh, America is the land of advertising. And they were talking about that. And that just really resonated with me, where they were like, there's advertisements for everything all the time. And I was like, yeah, that is true. Okay. Well, compassion, and then let's get into a message. When I said message, it kind of reminded me of the word massage. And so maybe some of you could use a massage or just a relaxed time. And also Alex was telling me this weird thing about we have certain nerves, right? Like nerve endings. And we have unique ones as people because we're special and cool. But it responds to the caress. I guess that's special to humans. It has to be at a certain speed and a certain temperature. And that they studied mothers with their babies, and they didn't tell them what they were looking for, but all the mothers did that with their babies. They did these kind of little caresses, and it was shown to reduce the heart rate. And little babies need that so that they don't get overwhelmed and just kind of, feeling anxious because they're just so dependent and small and the world is so scary. But yeah, so maybe just I reach out and touch somebody's hand. Yeah, maybe just physical touch. So something relaxing or having a massage or just kind of lowering your heart rate or just spending some time just because maybe there's some anxiety or something that's going on. Okay. Even toilet paper rap song ads. Okay, Spirit. Any message that wants to come through does not have to be related to anything. What do you want to say? What do you want to bring our attention to? King of Pentacles. Okay, sometimes pile 3, because there was a lot of kings in pile 3, so I just want to... 10 of Pentacles. I don't know if I want to go down this. I might reshuffle. because maybe I didn't take enough time between. But okay, so King of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, and the 6 of Cups. Something here about the past, possibly to do with a father. Like your father? Oh. Okay, so I think you're learning and you're moving away from like your father, or like it could be paternal teachings. Something here was like so stable or whatever. So why is that coming through? The Wheel of Fortune. This reminds me, it used to come out a lot like in the readings, like Who's Your Daddy from, oh my gosh, not Varsity Blues, because I always think it's Varsity Blues, but it's, oh my gosh, the one with Denzel Washington, Remember the Titans. And Denzel Washington is like, who's your daddy? Like gets in his face and like, who's your daddy now? And I always get that, but with like spirit. Spirit's like, I'm kind of like your father now. Like I'm trying to guide you because something here kept you like stuck. And this doesn't have to be like a complete overhaul. Like again, throwing out the baby with the bathwater. But I feel like there's something here where spirit is kind of guiding you forward. And I feel like maybe I felt like the winds, you know, like in Pocahontas when the winds are all like behind her and she's like following the wind and like the compass is like the arrow is spinning and like the wind is kind of pushing her and everything. It feels like that. Maybe it's pushing you to maybe spend some time alone. But Spirit's likening this to an adventure. It feels like very adventurous. So it could be maybe you're drawn to going somewhere alone. Of course, make sure that you're safe. But, you know, also it could just be like spending more time alone or like kind of sorting things out. And it's like an adventure. It's like a spiritual adventure kind of a thing. Some of you might want to read A Journey Home or The Journey Home because that's like a spiritual adventure story that might be calling to some of you. Hi, I just looked up and saw Ramana. Okay, Ramana is very much a father figure for me. Like spirit guide energy, father figure. And so I feel like there's this, and he's just so sweet and loving. Like you can just see it in his face, like his kind eyes and just like his caring nature. Like that's the energy that I feel like is waiting for you or like kind of pulling you forward. Wants to work together, is bringing you forward towards something here. Why is this coming through? Because it's time to go. You know when it's time to go. And I feel like it's time to break free from some kind of manipulation or indoctrination. This is kind of overlapping with pile number 3, but it's like there's something in your brain that is really, really in there and it's time to kind of question it. And I feel like Spirit's kind of pulling you forward on some kind of journey. Some of you maybe already been on a journey like this and Spirit saying that's why we had to get you like up and out of it because we were getting you up and out of a culture, but a culture is so deeply ingrained and it's just held together by so much. So getting you up and out, or if some of you are like, well, why did I need to go up and out and away for this? Well, you had to get up and out of some kind of culture or something you were like marinating in, and in order to explore something different entirely. And so for some of you in this lifetime, oh my gosh, I'm just getting goosebumps all over my body. Like it was kind of set for you to move from one culture to another culture, like an entirely different culture, because cultures, there is a holism to a culture. It is kind of like complete, which is why it's hard to disentangle a culture one thing at a time. And it's helpful to be immersed in a completely other culture. Some of you have already had this experience, but what you're going to do now is you are going to go inwards and you're going to consider that a culture. That culture was not arbitrary. Whatever culture it was, I'm getting goosebumps. Some of you, a light clicked on. You've always been guided. You've never been alone. You've always been guided and you have never been alone. I am just a light with goosebumps right now. And I'm just feeling this because I think some of you are like, did you spend time in a certain culture? You know, and so they picked you up and they put you in this different culture because this other culture is complete and it's whole and it functions in and of itself, you know, because like he's saying, I think this is Ramana that's coming through where he's like, it's hard to pull apart a culture one thing at a time because it's kind of whole. And so if you pull it apart one at a time, you're less likely to say, oh yeah, I see the folly in that, because something's going to drop in that culture because it was in there and it's the 6 of Swords energy. It's a functioning dysfunction. It made something else function. And so all you can kind of focus on is the other thing that dropped because you removed it. So if you got picked up and put in a different culture, or you're kind of immersed in some way in some kind of other culture, that is very much a part of your spiritual journey so that you can question the culture that you came from in certain ways. What did you like about that other culture? Like what felt right? about the way that they did things. This even could be reading certain books. Like I remember reading Debt, the first 5,000 years, which I thought was going to be an exploration of debt. And it really was, but it was also like such an exploration of humanity and like our values, because it's so intertwined in money. And we went in and out of like kind of different cultures and stuff about the way that they did things and the way that they set things up around money, but specifically like around debt. It was really interesting. So you might feel called to read that book as well. Yeah, this Hierophant energy, you're being guided. Okay, so for some of you, there's like, he's laughing. See how he's laughing, but in like a very pleasant kind of way. And I think for some of you, it's like you spent some time in this culture or something. Maybe you didn't want to. Maybe there's like something here about it. And he's like laughing. He's just, maybe it was to connect with this like jovial, casual, to like break certain things apart. The rigid conditioning of your culture where it's like, I'm supposed to be this or I'm supposed to be that. But you got to experience this entire different part of yourself in that culture. And that was you. That was you. I just heard that was you. That was the real you. Or it was a part of it or something, or that's what a lot of you are embarking on. So it's either it was in the past and then now you're being called to have a journey of spirits, like in a hermit mode where you go inside of yourself and you start to kind of pull these things out, but you already have set up some kind of compare and contrast between like two cultures. You don't have to have traveled to a different culture. This could have been like, maybe you're obsessed with like a different culture, you know, or something like, and so you know a lot about it. And I don't know. Yeah, because, and consider the seed is what I'm hearing. Consider the seed because one is this Page of Pentacles. Look at the difference in these people. One looks sad and kind of like they don't have a good posture. You know, you can tell that they feel kind of insecure. And then the other one is just as secure can be and just happy and just free and just moving. So I feel like you got to experience yourself just happy and just free and just moving and kind of unencumbered. In some kind of way, you were gifted this kind of window into what it would be like to not have like certain restrictions because, and something here makes you feel like you're not enough or like, oh, well, I have to keep to this or whatever, because there's only one way forward because I have to be this. But in this other place or in this other, you felt something different. This is culture. They're saying this is mother culture, you know? 10 of Cups. What is happiness? What is family? Between these two cultures, what is happiness and what is family? Between these cultures, what is happiness and what is family? I'm just supposed to keep saying this because this is kind of like they want you marinating in this. Like that's what this was meant to teach you. Between these two cultures, what is happiness and what is family? The culture you came from, what did it say about happiness? The culture that you were like immersed in or called towards, what is family? What is happiness? What is family? There's a huge difference. That's why this other culture, I'm getting goosebumps. That's why this other culture was chosen. Now, this doesn't have to be a culture like a country, you know, because a lot of you know I went to like Omega, which was like a hippie camp, and it was very, very different than the culture that I grew up in. And I'm going to do this later too, or I'm just going to kind of pull this apart for myself because there were some major differences I can just kind of tell, but I haven't explored this. I'm going to do this too. You know, but so I was still like in America. I mean, it was in the Northeast. I was from the Midwest, like, you know, but it doesn't have to be like something like huge or that you recognize as a culture kind of a thing. Okay, and then there's also something here about like planning, because I'm kind of getting a K2 energy with this King of Wands. This is more of the body. Oh. And then this is more of the mind. Like which of the planning, like if you were to plan in one culture, what would it have looked like? What would it have felt like? Versus if you were to plan in the culture that you came from. Because I'm kind of getting that if you were to plan in the culture that you came from, it feels like this. So you start off feeling like this, kind of insecure. There's one way forward. You have to consider about like a foundation or whatever. So you start to plan like this and notice her little cup here. Her heart is like locked up there, and her flags. It's like, hey, how do I make my mark on the world or whatever? So you're thinking about it like from this. So if for some of you, if you had to take a break, you're like, I haven't figured out my career. I haven't figured out my path. But weirdly, I feel like I need to go take a break and move to a different culture, you know? And that doesn't feel productive to me, but it was because it's like, how do you plan? Because I think if you plan like with this culture that you were asked to explore or like you feel drawn to explore, you start from here. Like everything feels free and expressive and fluid and magical. And like, notice the 0 of like the Fool in the background. It feels like this could possibly be things feel alive and they feel kinetic. And that's coming up through K2, which K2 is like the body. And that's connected to the sage of this past life wisdom, and it kind of unlocks it. And there's a kind of planning that can come from the body. And I was just thinking about this the other day because if for those of you that know about the Enneagram, because there's 9 different Enneagrams, but then they can kind of divide them up into these different subsections. And one is like, really uses the mind. One really uses the K2, like the body. And I was like interested in that. The way that they were talking about it, I was like, they were kind of saying that there were these stories from back in the day, like, people that lived more indigenous, where one could feel what somebody that they loved from their tribe, they could feel when they died, or they weren't anywhere close to them. And they were saying that's the body's intelligence, or they just kind of knew automatically what to heal or something. That's the body's intelligence that we kind of sever ourselves from in favor of these other kinds of intelligences. And again, it's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because there's something in our minds that want to go, okay, so I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to do this other thing. But it's about finding a balance. Okay, so this only goes so far, but it shouldn't be at the expense of this. You shouldn't let one thing atrophy. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, think about that. There's a way, but also don't think about it, feel it. I just heard pray and be in meditation. You could just be in meditation about it. So some of you are called to go on some kind of actual adventure, and maybe you're thinking that doesn't have a place in your path, but they're trying to more than show you, they're trying to click you in to some kind of other way of being that's better going to help you prosper in your future, and find your path, because it's hard to find your path from where you are. And if you're looking for it, but you don't have the tools to look for it, you don't know what it feels like to kind of click in with this fire. All of this is fire too, by the way, which is Dharma. Some of you have been praying or asking about your dharmic energy. Well, they've got to get you to a certain place to kind of click you into what that might be, because I feel like this other culture might feel like a sanctuary, whereas maybe the culture in some ways that you come from, there's this lack. Again, I'm hearing that quote, my poverty consents and not my will. And maybe there's a difference here of this culture represents your will, and this culture that you're from and are stuck in and feel entrapped by, not that you're not grateful for it and everything that it's done for you and stuff like that, but it feels like it's your poverty that consents to that and not your will. And so it's getting connected to your will in some kind of way is of an immersive experience is what I'm getting, and kind of balancing out, but it also might feel like taking a chance and kind of starting over, really starting over in some kind of way, or starting on a different board than you thought. I'm picturing the game of life, and it's I can't remember how you start. It's something are you going to college? Or are you going to work, right? That's the first thing. And so I think there's some kind of question in your mind. Maybe it is that, am I going to college or am I going straight to work? Especially if you're from a Western culture, but there's some kind of question that you ask right off the bat in your culture. And so you're expecting that. And that's how you're thinking about something here. You're thinking about, how am I going to answer this question? Am I going to go left or am I going to go right? But this is a different board entirely. And if you go to this other culture, that's not a question that they would ever ask or something. They would do something else. And if you just go and you are just thinking, I'm going to be fully immersed in this culture, I'm going to have a good time, I'm going to be where I am, then that's going to present you with a different, I don't even know if it's a different question. I think it's a different energy altogether. And from that energy is a place where you co-create with God, is what I'm hearing, is where a place where you co-create with spirit. And, you would, everything that I'm saying, you would already feel this. I'm not telling you to do anything. This is something that you've already been feeling. I feel like this is just descriptive. It's not prescriptive. I'm describing to you what you've already felt. You either felt it in the past and already went on this journey. And now you're doing the hermit thing where you're kind of debriefing with yourself and you're comparing and contrasting. Or you feel that kind of now, but you've been feeling it. If this message is resonating with you, you've been feeling it. Yeah. And that's you kind of turning this corner in your soul and moving into this creation mode instead of this kind of I'm scared. I'm moving through life wanting to be the emperor regardless of your gender, but not feeling defensive and feeling from this kind of small place or something. I don't know. There's something here that's meant to kind of wake you up and show you, illuminate something here for you that's going to liberate you from the confines of your culture. Because they're saying, as we call it mother culture, we need to be socialized, but they're kind of calling it an entrapment and a prison at the same time, where, you kind of need it, but then you've got to break free from it. And there's something weird about the human journey that's like that. You couldn't go without socialization. You really couldn't, because I've thought about it. What are you supposed to do in childhood? I'm not saying that I'm a brainiac and I know all the answers, but I'm just saying I've spent a significant amount of time thinking was we all have to basically socialization is building an ego. That's what it is. But then like we're taught in spirituality to transcend the ego. So could we just bypass that altogether? No. Like the answer that I consistently come back to is no, we couldn't. You have to build your ego and you have to transcend it. It's kind of like being the caterpillar, building a cocoon, and then becoming the butterfly, pushing yourself out of it. The ego is kind of like the cocoon that you have to kind of build. So you build it through being a caterpillar, which is socialization and being immersed in a culture. And then you put yourself in that cocoon, you turn to goo, and then you become this butterfly, and then you push out of it. And you have to push and break free from your ego, which is, in this case, immensely wrapped up with culture, if that makes sense. And culture is hard because it's the thing that's always around you. Have you heard the parable that's like, I don't know if it's a parable, but it's like the metaphor about like the fish in the water. If you think about yourself trying to explain water to a fish, and you're like, no, it's all around you. I mean, it's clear. And to you, it's the only thing that you've ever seen or you've ever known. You've never been out of the water, so you don't know what is in the water. That's also, I think, why I like the book Ishmael so much, because that's what it does. It breaks down culture. That's what Ishmael, as the teacher, who is an animal, K2, is trying to teach the human. It's like you are immersed in culture and it is a prison, and you have to get out of that culture. You have to get out of that prison in order to reconnect with your rewilding, is what I'm hearing. I'm getting so many goosebumps right now. I feel like this message is also for me, and I have to spend some time thinking about this. Oh yeah. So I threw out a lot of books here too. I think they're kind of showing me this is why I had to read some of those books too, or why I was drawn to reading some of those books. It wasn't just a passing interest. Like I'm just like, oh, I'm interested in this. It was like they were trying to string together some kind of thought process for me. Yeah. So, okay. I think I'm going to leave that there. And they're like, only from that other culture can like, and that whatever that's going to teach you, can you wait for things to come in? So for some of you, this is, you're trying to manifest something, but it's like broken down. And I'm seeing, I always think about that movie, the documentary Blackfish. It just like really struck something. Again, it's about the killer whales, animal energy, K2 energy, rewilding kind of energy. They're pack oriented. They're so hyper intelligent. But when you try to encage it, it goes nuts. And like, it literally actually goes crazy and like kind of becomes violent. But then its sad little fin just like kind of flops over. And so Spirit is saying, you don't realize it, but you're in some kind of captivity. The captivity of culture, and your sad little fin, and like you can't even manifest like from that place because you're sad little fin. But it's about like kind of coming alive, and that is when you merge. It's an energy thing, getting free of it. But you feel scared and you feel defensive and you feel defensive and you feel trepidatious because this feels like a split here, and then you're just gonna have to be responsible for yourself or something. I don't know. But there's a lot of fears that this is going to bring up for all of us, obviously. And also questions about like, so what are you saying? Like, that we don't need culture. No, I don't, culture provides a lot for us. So, but I think we're supposed to be unpacking that. So, okay, I'm going to leave that there. That was interesting. I have a lot to think about. So do you. We have a lot to swish around in our mouths. And, thank you guys for the suggestions for the Halloween one. We're going to think about that. And I think that's Alex has them. Okay. So I think that's that. And I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to wrap this up. So if you spent some time with us, thank you so much for spending your Friday here. And we have a From the Vault tomorrow, right? We have a From the Vault on Patreon tomorrow. And then, if you're on Patreon, maybe we'll do a poll for this because the live stream, I think we were going to do one.
I already announced that we're doing the one that tied.
Yeah, because we were going to do the one that tied, but also like there's a couple really cool ones that were just shown, that were just thrown out for the Halloween. And there's two at the beginning that were like both really good. And so maybe we should see between all three of those what we want to do. And also the North and South Node one was really good too, but I think I just want to do that one later. But we might want to do the other Halloween one because it's going to be right after Halloween. So I don't know. Maybe we'll put a poll up on Patreon for those of you that are over there. So thank you for spending some time with me, and I'll see you whenever I see you.